There is a kind of peace that doesn't make sense to the human mind, a calm that settles deep in your spirit, even when the world feels uncertain. The Bible calls it the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding. It doesn't depend on circumstances, on everything being perfect, or on life being easy. It's a peace that comes from knowing that God is here, holding you steady, even when everything else shifts. Tonight, as you breathe slowly and rest in His presence, let that peace begin to fill the spaces where worry has lived. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to try to create it. Peace is not something you earn. It's something you receive. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that peace flowing through you like a quiet river, cool, clear, and constant. It moves gently, washing away the heaviness of the day, the noise of your thoughts, the strain you've carried too long. You may not have all the answers. You may still feel the ache of waiting, the sting of uncertainty. But here, in this sacred quiet, you remember that peace is not the absence of trouble. It's the presence of God. He stands with you in every unknown. He whispers through the stillness, "Be not afraid. I am with you always." Those words are not distant promises. They are living truth, surrounding you even now. Let your shoulders soften. Let your heart beat slow. Feel the gentle rhythm of His love, anchoring you to something greater than fear. When the mind tries to pull you back into worry, come back to your breath and to this truth: you are safe in His care. You don't need to understand everything to trust Him. His peace will guard your heart and mind. Even when life doesn't make sense, the world may tremble, but His peace remains unshaken. It is stronger than anxiety, deeper than fear, wider than your understanding. Let it fill you completely tonight in the quiet, in the dark, in the soft glow of faith that never fades. Stay here a little longer. Rest in the mystery of His love. You don't have to do anything, just receive. Let His peace be the lullaby that carries you into rest. And as you close your eyes, know this: the same God who calms storms with a single word can calm the storm within you. If these words have brought comfort to your heart, take a moment to subscribe and share this peaceful space with someone who needs to feel God's presence tonight. Together, may we live in the peace that goes beyond all understanding. I settle into this quiet hour the way a candle settles into its holder. The room breathes slowly. A faint lamp throws a warm circle on the blanket. Eyes feel heavy. Muscles let go. One by one. This is a moment kept for soft things. This is a time held for healing. I invite you to join with an open heart. No need for prepared words. No need for ready answers. Just bring what is real. Bring the tired places. Bring the questions that do not need solving tonight. Bring the small joys that linger. Bring the names that live in the corners of memory. Let those things rest here for a while. We move gently. The pace stays slow. A steady rhythm carries the reading. Sentences come as a hush. Pauses sit like small rests between breaths. The voice is calm. Words are simple. The aim is not to teach or to prove. The aim is to comfort and to remind. Soft light meets the pages of the Bible. The texture of paper is familiar under fingertips. The book opens with a gentle weight. Each verse is a step. Each step leads closer to rest. I read in a measured tone. I let space follow each line. Silence frames the words like a soft cloth. Breathing becomes an anchor. Inhale with the awareness of presence. Exhale with a release of worry. Let breath be a companion. Let the chest rise and fall with the steady passage of time. If the mind wanders, return to the breath without judgment. If thoughts drift to tomorrow's tasks, watch them float past like clouds and return to the lamp's glow. The heart often carries heavy things. Emotions constrict like an unseen band. Tonight is a chance to relax that band. Name one small thing that weighs most. Speak it softly in the mind. Allow a simple sentence, I bring this here. No long explanation. No repair necessary yet. Naming makes space. Naming loosens the grip. A brief image helps. Picture a quiet shore at evening. The water laps slowly. Moonlight spreads a cool path. Stones sit warm from the day. Nothing demands from the shore. The sea receives without question. Let the image hold whatever feels heavy. Lay it on the sand. Watch the tide. Take what it will. Keep what remains. The image is gentle. It does not hurry. As the reader, I keep a watchful tenderness. The tone remains low and even. Sentences are short. Each word aims to soothe. When the Bible text speaks of mercy, I let mercy rest on the page like a soft blanket. When the Bible speaks of hope, I let hope be a small light, not blinding, but steady. When comfort appears, it is offered like cool water to a parched throat. Tonight's readings follow a simple pattern. First, a short passage that speaks of God's nearness. Second, a reflection that invites quiet thought. Third, a short prayer of thanks or longing. Lastly, a few moments of silence for rest. The pattern repeats slowly. Repetition is restful in itself. It creates a gentle drumbeat for the heart. Listen with the ears of a child who trusts the darkness to keep secrets safe. Hear words as if they are lullabies. No need for arguments. No need for debate. The text is an invitation, not a test. Mercy is not earned here. Assurance is not measured by the number of sentences spoken. Both are simply present. I choose passages that bring shelter. I avoid heavy doctrine and sharp dispute. The focus stays on mercy, healing, and hope in Christ. Christ appears not as a problem to be solved, but as a friend who sits close. The friend listens without interruption. The friend offers a hand without conditions. The friend stays through the night. If sleep comes early, that is welcome. If thoughts remain awake, they are welcome too. Both find a place in this hour. Nothing here judges the timing of rest. Rest arrives in its own shape. The reading does not force it. The reading simply waits in the room, a gentle companion until the breathing softens and lids fall. Physical comfort matters. Adjust pillows so the neck does not strain. Cover the feet with a light blanket. Uncross arms. Let the jaw unclench. If fingers need something to do, place a hand on the chest or the belly and follow the slow rise and fall. Small physical changes invite deeper relaxation. Sound becomes a part of the reading. The voice is low but clear. Words flow like small stones dropped into a calm pond. Each sound making a tiny ring. The rings fade. Silence returns. Pause often. Let the echoes of phrases sit with the soul. Let the meaning settle without rushing. The reading offers images more than arguments. Images become soft tools for the tired mind. A garden with cool shade. A tree heavy with fruit. A lamp set on a small table. A shepherd moving gently among his flock. These images are not explanations. They are rest stations for the imagination. Linger at eat. Breathe in what they suggest. When a sentence speaks of mercy, I slow further. Mercy is not a concept to untangle. It is a warmth that enters a cold room. Imagine warmth arriving at the shoulders. It is not earned. It simply arrives. Let the shoulders relax into it. When a sentence mentions hope, picture a small flame behind the eyes. Steady and calm, hope does not shout. It whispers the possibility of morning. The reflections are brief and soft. They do not lecture. They offer a single line to hold. Sometimes a question appears, not to provoke anxiety, but to invite attention. What feels like a burden tonight? Where does hope peek through the cracks? Which small mercy can be named? Now, keep answers simple. A word or two is enough. A short prayer follows each reflection. The prayer asks for rest, for gentle care, for steady faith. It does not demand proof. It asks for presence. It names longing. It offers thanks for breath and for small mercies. The tone stays humble. The words are quiet. The prayer ends with surrender to the night. Silence comes next. Those moments are valuable. Let the silence be a room where the words just read have time to settle. Let the silence be a soft cushion. No rush to fill it. No rush to move on. Rest stays in the silence until it feels time to proceed. Sometimes tears come. Sometimes a smile. Both are good. Tears wash and smiles warm. Both are part of healing. Allow whatever appears. The atmosphere stays without pressure. The aim is comfort, not performance. The reading honors whatever arises. If a restless thought returns, acknowledge it kindly and return to the image or the breath. A soft phrase helps. Repeat a short sentence from the reflection or prayer as a quiet anchor. Keep the phrase simple and gentle. Let it settle like a pebble in a pond. Time becomes elastic in this hour. Minutes stretch and shrink. The only measure is the steadiness of the breath and the calmness of the voice. The rhythm remains unhurried. The session moves like a slow river toward the night. Keep expectations light. Healing is often quiet. It is a slow mending, not a sudden fix. Small shifts matter. A softened jaw. A longer exhale. A moment of peace. These are steps forward. Celebrate small changes. They often lead to larger rest. As the reader, I remain present. The voice does not rush. The tone is steady and attentive. The book rests open. Each passage receives full attention before the next begins. The room remains a safe space. The reading continues until the heart feels a deeper ease or until sleep arrives. At the close of this introductory time, a brief summary helps. The evening will consist of short passages, calm reflections, soft prayers, and quiet silences. The aim remains healing and hope. The speed stays slow. The language stays gentle. The presence stays faithful. Now, with lamps dimmed and breath steady, we are ready to begin. The Bible is placed on the lap. Fingers find the edge of the page. Eyes lower and rest. I open the book and let the first passage unfold. The voice moves forward with calm intention. The night receives the words like rain on dry ground, and the heart drinks what it needs. The lamp stays low. The room keeps its hush. A deeper calm settles into the skin. I speak in a tone that asks nothing of the mind. The only task here is to rest. Before I read, a small request. If this hour brings peace, consider subscribing. Leave a gentle comment when you can. Share a quiet experience you had tonight. These small actions help build a circle of care. They let others find this space too. No rush, no obligation, just a kind invitation. Now, I open the Bible again. I turn to a verse that holds night like a hand. Psalm 4:8 speaks of lying down and sleeping in peace, because God makes a safe place. I read the meaning slowly. Each phrase rests in the air. The sound of the words is soft. The sentence itself is like a slow exhale. Picture a small room at dusk. A window shows a single star. Curtains move a little, with a gentle breeze. The bed cradles the body. There is no need to explain the day here. No need to tidy every thought. The verse gives permission. It says that sleep can be safe. It says that rest can be trust. I let those words wash through the senses. The feel of the blanket, the steady rise and fall of the chest, the steady, exact rhythm of breath. These are enough for now. The mind does not need to make a plan. The mind only needs to notice the present warmth. There is a gift in accepting small safety. Not a grand rescue. Not a dramatic change. Just the simple sense that a place exists where fear does not rule. Imagine a door that closes with soft hinges. A lock that hums without clamor. The outside noise continues, but it is far away. Inside, the air is still. Inside, the heart finds room to soften. I place a hand over the heart. Temperature is a steady anchor. The palm feels the steady beat. That familiar pressure is permission to slow down. Imagine each beat like a footstep on a quiet path. Each step movest over sleep. There is no hurry. There is no measuring. If worry arrives, do not push it. Let it sit like a small bird on the windowsill. Watch it breathe. Do not feed it with long thoughts. Offer it a single word of surrender. A short phrase that becomes an anchor. Say it quietly in your mind. Let it be simple. Let it be true. The word is enough to give the bird a place to perch. The night prayer here is brief. I offer words that do not seek proofs. I speak for gentle shelter, for soft courage to let go, for the quiet holding of sleep. The prayer is an unadorned asking. It asks for mercy to that small place where weariness lives. It asks for the patience of rest. The tone remains low. The hope is small and steady. Listen to how the verse comforts without explaining everything. It does not demand a list of reasons. It offers presence. Presence becomes a blanket that does not smother. Presence becomes a lamp that does not glare. Presence becomes a companion who simply stays. I imagine a watchman sitting on a gate. Eyes rest on the path, not with worry, but with calm attention. The watchman does not have to fix every shadow. He simply notices and holds the space. Let that image sit for a few breaths. Allow it to steady the mind. Breathing grows deeper by design. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6. The numbers are soft markers. They guide without forcing. The longer out-breath quiets the nervousness in the body. Repeat this cycle until the chest feels lighter. If counting becomes a task, return to the natural sway of breath. Follow the breath as if it were a small river. Small acts of trust appear in tiny movements. Turn the face to the pillow. Close the hands without gripping. Let the jaws loosen. These micro-movements signal the body that the night will be gentle. The muscles that cling to the day begin to unfurl. The shoulders release like ropes being eased. There is no need for long confessions tonight. A short acknowledgement suffices. Where the load feels heaviest, set one simple line beside it. I rest. Now, the phrase is not a solution. It is a soft agreement with reality. It says that for this hour, effort can pause. Images help the mind settle. Picture a small hearth. The fire burns low and even. The embers glow without heat that threatens. A kettle hums quietly in the corner. The sound is familiar and untroubled. Let those quiet images be companions as the eyelids drop. I read the verse again. Slowly and deliberately, the cadence becomes a lullaby. Each word lands like a pebble in a pond. Rings spread outward and then fade. The silence that follows holds the meaning. Let that silence be wide enough for the heart. If sleep resists, do not judge the body. Some nights are long, some nights are thin. Offer the same gentle attention either way. Notice the hands. Notice the breath. Notice the quiet ache. Nothing here must be fixed. Everything here can be noticed and held. Think of mercy as soft air entering the room. It moves without pressure. It finds every corner. It does not arrive as a force, but as coolness that meets the skin. Allow that image to accompany the slow exhale. Let mercy rest on shoulders, as if a light shawl were laid there. The promise of safety in Psalm 4:8 does not erase difficulties. It offers a frame for them. Difficulties remain. They shrink slightly in the midst of a restful place. The frame is steady enough to let the gaze soften. From that softened gaze, the mind can release the sharper edges of the day. At the close of this short time, a simple blessing receives the night. I speak it quietly. May rest find its way. May sleep be kind. May morning arrive with gentle light. The words land like soft rain. They do not command. They invite. If it helps, leave a note when you wake. Share one small thing that felt different after the hour. A lange breath. A clearer moment. À l'instance, Joe. These notes help others know this path can be walked. They create gentle fellowship. They remind the heart that it is not alone. Now the lamp will dim a little more. The book closes lightly, not with finality, but with trust. The space between the covers holds the night's promise. The voice softens until it is almost a whisper. The room becomes a vessel where rest can grow. We end this part with a quiet pause. Let the silence be as wide as the sky. Let the breath be a small tide. Stay in that stillness for a few moments longer. When sleep comes, accept it without fuss. When wakefulness remains, meet it with the same calm attention. Tomorrow's light will come in its own time. For now, the invitation stands simple and true. Lie down in peace. Sleep in calm. Trust that a safe place exists. The night keeps its watch. The heart can rest. Part 2 closes on that assurance. The next passage will arrive when it feels right. For now, breathe. Soften, and let the night do its gentle work. The lamp burns low. The Bible rests where hands can find it. Tonight, I turn its pages to a line that has kept me from panic more than once. The verse breathes patience and quiet strength. It speaks of waiting that renews rather than drains. The image is of wings and steady motion. The idea sits like a small lamp in the chest. A memory rises as the words settle. It is late. Rain has just stopped. The house smells of wet earth and warm wood. A long day has left the body tight and raw. Tasks linger like small stones in a pocket. Sleep refuses to come. The mind circles the same list. The heart tugs toward fret. Instead of yielding to the rush of thought, I step outside. The porch is cool. The sky is heavy with cloud, but not angry. The air fills the lungs and comes out in slow, surprised exhales. A single streetlight throws a pool of gold on the wet pavement. The world is quieter than it was hours before. In that calm, I opened the book and read the promise again. Not as a theorem, but as a friend's whisper. The words wash through the ribs like rain through a roof. No sudden miracle follows. Instead, a small change happens. The chest loosens a degree. The shoulders let go of a notch of bearing. The thump in the mind that keeps replaying worries becomes softer. Waiting becomes less like holding a tense muscle and more like letting a hand settle on a table. The shift is not dramatic. It is gentle. It is enough. What I found there is not an escape from trouble. Trouble remains. Bills do not fold themselves. Pain does not vanish. But the presence I feel in the stillness makes those things feel less like falling rocks and more like objects on a table that will not crush the room. The heart discovers a new posture. Instead of fighting the night, it leans into the waiting. The porch becomes a small classroom. Breath guides the lesson. Inhale slowly. Hold for a quiet count. Exhale as if releasing a small leaf onto a stream. Each breath matches the soft cadences of the night. Thoughts arrive. They are watched like birds on a fence. No need to chase them. No need to feed them. They simply perch and then move on. A line from the verse becomes a simple metronome. Not a command, not a test, just a rhythm to follow. The line speaks of strength returning to the weary. It imagines the tired rising with new wing. I imagine those wings not as spectacular feathers, but as a gentle lift under the shoulders. Movement becomes easier. Steps lengthen without strain. Sight clears a little at the edges. That night on the porch, the lift feels like a soft correction. The knees stop trembling. Thoughts no longer grip with sharp claws. A sense of steadiness returns, as if someone is placing a hand lightly at the small of the back and saying, "You may rest now." The word rest lands tender and true. The presence I name for you is simple. It is not a doctrinal point to be proven. It is felt in the bones. It is a hush that arrives when the mind stops arguing and the heart receives. The tone is like a familiar voice that does not demand answers. The voice listens. The voice stays. Since that night, I have returned to the same practice again and again. When sleep flees, the book opens. A short passage is read aloud in a tone that asks nothing of the listener but attention. The words are allowed to expand slowly in the room. Pauses are given time to breathe. Breath anchors the listening. The passage becomes a small harbor. Sometimes the peace comes as a single quiet line. Sometimes it arrives as warmth behind the ribs. Sometimes it is a steadying of tears. No single shape is required. The important part is the willing pause, the willingness to stop pushing and to be still enough to feel the presence. If you want the same peace, try a simple practice with me. Sit or lie in a way that does not strain. Place one hand on the chest, another on the belly, if that feels good. Close the eyes lightly. Breathe with attention. Read a single short verse or a short sentence from the Bible. Not to analyze, but to let it land. Say it slowly. Let the words hang in the air. Pause. Breathe again. Let the meaning sink into the blood. Pick one phrase as an anchor. Not a long one. A small phrase that can be brought back when the mind wanders. Use it like a lifeline. When worry begins to spool, offer the phrase again. Do not argue with the worry. Offer the phrase and return to the breath. The life of the phrase is in its gentle repetition, not in its length. Another way to welcome that presence is to imagine a quiet, wide place. Picture an open field after rain. The path underfoot is soft. The sky is a slow blue. You do not have to run. Walking is enough. The pace is measured. The body aligns with the ground beneath. The chest eases. That field is not a fantasy of escape. It is a small image that helps the body accept calm. Mercy shows itself here as small acts. An easy exhale, a loosened jaw, a hand that unclenches. These tiny things matter. They register in the nervous system like a minor repair. Over time. Small repairs add up. The body learns to trust that rest can be allowed. The reading tonight invites waiting that is active in its quiet way. Waiting is not doing nothing. It is a posture of attention. It is a patient turning toward the presence that steadies. That posture, held long enough and kindly, begins to remake the edges of anxiety. I keep the tone low because loudness scatters the mind. Gentle words gather attention. Short sentences fit better in the night. Concrete images help the ears hold. The focus is not on cleverness, but on steadiness. The voice becomes a steadying hand rather than a lecture. In the weeks after that porch moment, small miracles happened, not flashy ones, not clear answers, just mornings that felt easier, conversations that did not spike the old panic, nights when the sleep came sooner. These changes are not proof of a system. They are simple proof of the value of being still and inviting presence. If the practice seems strange at first, be patient. The nervous system remembers only slowly. Short sessions before bed begin to reshape the body's response to worry. Even a few minutes of reading and breathing can change the shape of the night. Consistency matters more than length. Tonight, as I read these words aloud to you, imagine that same porch, the same cool air, the same pool of light on wet pavement. Imagine the small hand at the back, telling the body that it might rest. Let the breath match the cadence of the words. Let the phrase from the verse sit like a soft strap under the shoulders, lifting just enough. I do not promise that all fear will vanish. I do promise that the presence waits, and that waiting with attention changes how fear visits. The voice of mercy is not loud. It rarely interrupts the most urgent noises of the mind. It speaks instead at the edges. It tucks a steadying thought into the chest where panic lives. As the lamp leans lower, let this be a practical invitation. Choose one short verse. Keep it where hands will find it. Read it aloud before lying down. Place the hand on the chest and breathe with it. Return to that short line when worry arrives. Treat the practice as a kind kindness to the body. The night listens. The body responds. A new rhythm grows if given time. Let that rhythm have space here and now. Let it take root in the slow moments. I close this part with a soft asking. May breath be steady. May waiting become a shelter. May the small wings of rest lift the weary. Hold the image of quiet strength as you prepare to sleep. When the next passage comes, it will meet the same hush. For now, let the whisper of grace settle in the room and in the bones. I sit with the lamp low. The room keeps its hush. The Bible rests open in my lap. I turn to a line that names safety. It says that God is a refuge and strength, always ready to help in trouble. The words feel like a small, steady harbor. They do not explain everything. They offer a place to come ashore. There was a night when that harbor mattered more than ever. The day had been long in a way that makes the shoulders ache. Small duties piled like stones. One piece of news changed the shape of the rest of the day. Plans altered. Sleep seemed a distant thing. The chest grew tight. Thoughts ran patterns that circles only know. Instead of pushing the night away, I walked toward water. The city light lay soft on the river. A little duck breathed. Boats tied and untied in slow rhythms. The air smelled faintly of salt and something old and steady, standing there. The rush of the day felt louder. The body wanted to run, to fix, to make sense. None of that helped. I opened the Bible on the dock. The page was thin and warm under my fingers. I read the verse aloud. Not to anyone, but to the quiet. The sentence speaks of a refuge and strength. It speaks of an ever-present help. Saying it slowly does not change the facts. Saying it slowly changes how the mind holds them. The water moved gently. Waves made a soft hush against the wood. The sound met the breath and matched the pace. In that small rhythm, the chest found a place to loosen. The words from the page did not erase trouble. The trouble was still true, but the trouble found a frame. It sat inside a larger room. The room had walls that did not shake with every gust. I stay with that image when weariness presses. I picture the boat coming into a small cove. The cove is quiet and wide. No need to fight wind there. The hull can breathe. Lines are thrown to a sturdy post. A friend visible or unseen stands nearby with steady hand. That friend does not scold. The friend simply receives the small craft and holds it safe. The night on the dock ends with a changed breathing. A simple turn registers in the nervous system. The shoulders drop by a degree. The jaw unclenches. Strength returns not as force, but as the ability to carry on with less strain. Renewal comes quietly. It is not fireworks. It is the soft return of an old steadiness. I read that psalm often now before sleep. The pattern is gentle and short. Read the verse. Breathe. Let the sentence land like a stone tossed into calm water. Watch the rings widen and then fade. Keep the rhythm slow. The practice does not fix every fact. It changes how facts sit in the heart. In the weeks after that dock night, small things shifted. A morning felt less heavy. A task took one less anxious thought to begin. The change is gradual. It is like a plant that leans toward a window over a month. The tilt is small each day. Or it seems, the plant seems to move with purpose. Renewal of strength often arrives as a gentle return. Muscles relax at touch. The mind spends less energy wrestling. Courage is not sudden. It is a steady acceptance that a next breath is possible. The phrase refuge and strength becomes a simple tool. It can be whispered when the heart tightens. It can be held like a small stone in the pocket. I keep the voice slow when I read that verse to you. Short sentences help the ear. Slow cadence helps the pulse. The aim is not to argue or prove. The aim is to offer a shelter of words. Words can be a gentle harbor when the night feels too much. There is a shape to this shelter. It is not a fortress. It is a place of welcome. It is a place where arms lower and the chest softens. It is a steady lamp at the helm. It allows tears without shame. It gives space for tired limbs to fold. There is no demand for immediate fixing. Rest is permitted. Once, in a waiting room, late into the night, a nurse came over with a small cup of water and a quiet nod. That small kindness felt like the verse come alive. It did not change the outcome of the hours. It changed the night. The strength I needed came back in small measures. Each small kindness is a plank on the path to a firmer step. If you ever feel the heavy weight of weariness, Try this practice with me. Sit or lie with a soft support beneath the head. Place one hand where it feels natural. Close the eyes lightly if that comforts. Read the verse aloud or in the mind. Let the phrase linger. Breathe slowly. Inhale for 4 counts. Pause. Exhale for 6. Repeat until the body begins to listen. Ask for a single small thing. A short prayer is enough. Ask for a steadying hand. Ask for a safe place to rest for the night. Thanks can come too, even for small moments of mercy. The tone remains quiet. The prayer is a lowering of demand and a lifting of trust. Sometimes strength returns as simple movement, a hand that lets go, a foot that takes a step without the old tightness. The return is often unnoticed until a morning comes and the face feels rested in a way it did not before. These shifts are patient. They need no hurry. The refuge named in the psalm is present in different ways. It shows up as a friend's call at midnight. It appears in the sudden quiet of a sleeping house. It arrives as a memory of a bedside that held a hand through long hours. It is both shelter and companion. It steadies without strictness. When I read the verse to you now, imagine a small harbor with a lamp. Imagine hands on the rail that do not press but steady. Let the image sit with the breath. Allow it to be simple and true. The image does not take away trouble. It gives the heart a mode of holding trouble that is softer. The night reading is short. The voice is low. Each word is a careful step. I do not rush through the page. Pauses are places to rest. Silence is part of the healing. Let the silence after the verse be a wide and pleasant room. There are nights when words do little. Those nights deserve the same gentle attention. Sit in stillness. Keep the hand on the chest. Hold the breath slowly. Trust that presence is near, even when the mind resists it. Presence is quiet company. It does not compete with the noise of the mind. It waits. Mercy in this context feels like an arm around the shoulder. It does not erase the hard facts of life. It simply changes the way those facts are held. The body relaxes under that arm. The mind can think in fewer jagged pieces. Hope appears not as a promise of instant rescue, but as a steady sense that the night keeps watch. When sleep finally comes, it is often softer after these moments. The drift is gentle. Dreams, when they come, do not ride the brunt of yesterday's anger. They move in a calmer sea. Mornings arrive with a smaller weight in the chest. I close this part with a small blessing. May a safe harbor find you tonight. May the lamp be steady. May the hands that hold you be gentle. May the breath return its due measure. Read the verse. Breathe. Let the shelter be enough for now. When you wake, note one small thing that feels different. A longer exhale, a less tight jaw, a calmer pause before action. Share it if you wish. These small testimonies build a gentle fellowship. They remind the eye that rest is not a one-night miracle, but a patient return. The lamp will dim. The Bible will close lightly. The sound will fade into the hush. Rest now in the knowledge of a refuge and a steady strength. The night keeps watch. The heart can find ease. The lamp is low. The room holds its hush. I open the Bible and find a line that smells of mercy. It speaks of the blessedness that comes when wrongdoing is forgiven and the ledger is closed. The verse does not lecture. It offers relief. I read it slowly in my mind. The words land like cool rain. They do not tidy the day. They make the load lighter. Forgiveness often starts small. It begins as a soft admission in the chest. A small name rises, a memory of a mistake, a sting that comes back the same way a scar itches. Many nights I have held that ache like a stone in my fist. I learned there is a way to let the stone go. Picture a quiet river near the house. The bank is soft, and the water moves without hurry. I walk there once when sleep is far. The sky is a slow blue. I take a single smooth stone from my pocket. It has been there for weeks. The stone is a weight named by regrets and what-ifs. I breathe, and then I lay the stone on the palm of my hand. The palm feels the cool surface. The stone is real. The regret is real. Naming them is not a dismissal. It is a beginning. Forgiveness in the psalm sounds like a door opening. It does not pretend the past never happened. It places the past in a new room. The new room is not empty of memory. It is simply arranged so the memory does not crowd every corner. The act of forgiving oneself does the same. It moves the memory from the center to a shelf where it can be seen without ruling the house. I let the stone slip from my fingers into the river. It does not dissolve in a single splash. It sinks and finds a new place among other stones. The movement of water smooths the edges, not by removing the shape at once, but by gentle, steady motion. Forgiveness is often like that. It is not a sudden erasure. It is a steady wearing away of sharpness. Breathe with me for a moment. Inhale slowly. Count to 4 in the mind. Hold for a soft 2. Exhale and imagine releasing the weight. Exhale as if the palm opens. Repeat the cycle until the shoulders drop a little. Let breath be the work of letting go. I know the temptation to recite a long list of reasons not to forgive. The mind builds barricades of guilt. It insists on fairness. It weighs deeds in exact measures. But mercy does not play by those scales. It brings a warmth that the brain can scarcely defend. Mercy simply is. A practice has helped me. I call it a brief ritual of acknowledgement. It takes no more than a few minutes. Sit or lie comfortably. Close the eyes lightly. Choose one small thing to name. Say it quietly in the mind. Do not argue with it. Do not add a long explanation. A single line will do the fact. Nothing more. Place that single line in your hand. Like the stone. Now imagine the presence that Psalm speaks of. Picture it as light that is patient rather than flashy. It moves slowly over the hand. When the light reaches the stone, it does not dissolve the memory, but it covers it. The coverage is not concealment in the worst sense. It is an official rearrangement. The past is acknowledged and then set behind a glass that lets the truth be seen without reopening the wound each time the mind passes. Forgiving oneself includes saying a short phrase aloud or in the mind. Not a long justification. Not an explanation for every fault. A simple phrase like this: I receive mercy for this. The sentence can be repeated as a soft anchor. Use it when your thoughts begin to circle. Use it as a single pebble to skip across the noisy pond of reproach. The psalm also speaks of blessedness when sin is covered. That covering is a relief that allows breathing. Imagine a cloth laid over a lamp. The light remains. Gentle now. The covering does not hide the light. It changes how the light meets the eyes. It does not force the world to forget. It changes the angle from which the world is seen. There is a small gentleness in Christ's mercy that I return to in my night reading. It feels like a hand that steadies, rather than a hand that points. The hand does not demand an account of every thought. It takes the heavy ends and ties them in a slow knot, making them manageable. The knot does not erase the yarn. It binds it differently. If the thought of forgiving yourself seems impossible tonight, consider a tiny step. Write the name of the weight on a scrap of paper. Fold the paper once. Place it under a small stone. Keep both on the bedside table as a sign that the burden is acknowledged and entrusted for the night. This small physical act sometimes helps the heart choose rest. Mercy will not force a trick. It will not remove consequence where consequence must remain. It will, however, make the consequence livable. A lesson learned can sit beside the healed place rather than inside the wound. That is the quiet work of forgiveness. It rearranges the inner furniture so that life can be used again rather than consumed by the past. I have known nights when moving toward forgiveness felt like stepping into a warm room after being out in the cold. The muscles let go. The mind stops rehearsing every error. Sleep comes in pieces at first. It is not perfect sleep. It is sleep softened by the knowledge that the ledger is no longer clawing at the heart all night. A short prayer follows this reading. It is not ornate. It is a lowering of demand and a reaching for mercy. I speak for a moment, asking for the courage to name what needs naming. I ask for the gentleness to receive forgiveness and for the patience to carry it across days. The prayer asks that rest be possible with a heart less raw. It does not argue. It simply asks for help to let go. After the prayer, sit with a little silence. Let the words hang like small stars. Do not try to measure their impact. Let the silence do its quiet work. In that silence, notice any change. Maybe a small looseness in the throat. Maybe a longer exhale. Maybe nothing immediate. All are okay. If tears come, allow them. They are part of the river that carries the stone. If a small smile rises, welcome it too. Both are signs that the body is accepting a new shape for the old hurt. Both are acceptable outcomes of the same gentle process. Forgiving oneself does not mean pretending to be different overnight. It means choosing a new posture toward the self. It is the way hands learn to hold the heart with less force. It is learning to treat the inner life with as much kindness as we would give to a friend who has erred. When I read this psalm aloud late at night, I keep my voice low. Short sentences, space between statements, a steady rhythm. The words are a soft guide into a different way of being. The cadence helps the brain unwind from argument. The images help the imagination accept a new map for the past. Before I close this part, a small exercise. Place one hand on the chest. Feel the slow beat. Name one small forgiveness, out loud or in the mind. Say that brief phrase, I receive mercy for this. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Let the phrase float with the breath for a few cycles. Notice what changes. However small, I end with a calm blessing. May mercy find the corners where guilt lingers. May rest come without the sharp edges of blame. May the night cover what needs covering, so the morning can be used more lightly. The words do not command. They invite. The lamp dims a fraction. The Bible closes gently. The silence grows a little deeper. Stay here for a few more breaths. When it feels right, allow sleep to come. If wakefulness returns later, remember the small ritual. Repeat the short phrase. Breathe. Let the river do its slow work. Part 5 ends on that quiet note. The next passage awaits, when the heart is ready. For now, rest in the mercy that unclenches the hand and makes the night able to hold you. I settle into the low light. The room holds its hush. The Bible opens on my lap. Tonight, I turn to a passage that names our shared limitation and the strange kindness that meets it. Romans 3:2, 3-24 speaks of falling short and of being made right through grace. I read it slowly. The words are neither harsh nor triumphant. They are a soft truth that makes room. The line starts with a plain fact. No one is perfect. That statement is not meant to shame. It is meant to free. Perfection is not the condition for being loved. Fault and fracture do not disqualify a heart from mercy. The book tells the hard truth, gently. It then offers mercy as a remedy, not as a reward. I think of a ceramic cup I once broke. The crack ran fine and dark across the glaze. For a while, I treated the cup like a mistake. I hid it in a back cabinet. Later, I wrapped it in a cloth and set it by the sink. Over time, I noticed how the light hit the crack. The little line caught the glow and made the cup look older and more honest. The cup still holds tea. It is still useful. The crack does not make it worthless. This image helps me when the mind tightens around failure. The line from Romans does the same. It does not pretend flaws away. It places those flaws inside a larger story. The story does not begin with achievement. It begins with belonging offered to a flawed people. When I read that passage aloud, I keep my voice soft. I do not race through the idea of sin and redemption. The words are allowed to sink. Each pause is a small room. In those pauses, the heart can breathe. Mercy is not pushed like a solution across the table. Mercy arrivederci. It sits down with tired hands. It speaks without accusation. A small memory surfaces. I am younger. A task is bungled. Shame stays awake long into the night. The mind replays the clumsy moment until the body learns the pattern of tightness. Years later, the same thought returns when new mistakes appear. The pattern is familiar. It is exhausting. I learn to interrupt that pattern with 2 simple moves. First, a brief naming. Say the fact without long argument. The mind needs accuracy more than blame. Give it a single line. This happened. Not a sermon. Not an inventory. Just a fact. Naming becomes a small doorway. Second, an offering of the fact into the hands of grace. Not a long theological explanation, not a list of reasons. A short phrase suffices. I receive grace. Now, say it once. Let the breath carry it inward. Let the chest answer with a softer rhythm. Practice this with me. Sit or lie in a way that feels safe. Place one hand on the chest. Feel the steady thrum beneath the palm. Close the eyes lightly, if that helps. Breathe in slowly. Hold just a beat. Breathe out with a small letting. Say the short line, I receive grace now. Let the phrase rest on the exhale. Repeat 2 or 3 times. No drama, no performance. Just a willingness to let mercy touch the place that holds guilt. The passage in Romans does not make light of wrong. It names a universal condition. That universality can be oddly comforting. When shame feels solitary, the truth that every heart falls short removes the loneliness. Imperfection becomes a shared landscape. Shared landscapes allow gentle company. Shared landscapes make room for patient repair. I remember a night when the ache of not enough seemed too loud. The voice in my head listed standards that felt impossible. I walked to the kitchen and made tea with hands that trembled. The cup was ordinary. The kettle whistled its steady note. I opened the Bible and read the verse. The idea of being justified by grace came as a hand laid on the shoulder. It did not explain the future. It altered the posture of the present. Acceptance of imperfection is not surrender to carelessness. It is a refusal of the endless grind of self-condemnation. When mercy enters, energy shifts. The muscles that once flinched at every minor misstep relax a fraction. That relaxation does not remove responsibility. It frees the body to act without the extra weight of despair. The story of being justified is like a room that has been rearranged. The old furniture of accusation sits aside. The light moves differently. A chair becomes available for rest. That change matters. Small acts are possible when the body is not worn thin by shame. A kind word can be offered. A needed apology can be made without collapse. A missed task can be set again with less fear. Gentle practices help this truth become real. Keep a small card by the bedside. On one side, write a short line that names the flaw. On the other side, write a short phrase that names the grace. Before bed, look at the card. Read the short line. Pause. Turn the card. Read the grace phrase. Breathe. Close the eyes. Let the two sides live together. The act of moving the card is small and bodily. It teaches the hands and the heart a new rhythm. Another practice is to imagine a patchwork quilt. Each square is a memory. Some squares are bright. Some squares are frayed. The whole quilt keeps a person warm. The frayed pieces do not unmake the quilt. They become part of its story. Mercy stitches new thread across the edges. The mending is visible. The quilt is honest and whole at once. I do not call this thinking a cure for everything. Nights still come when fear feels louder. Old habits return like weather. The difference now is subtle. There is a hand on the shoulder even in the dark. That hand does not fix everything. It steadies. It says, You are not alone in this. You are allowed to sleep. When the mind insists on perfection, try a small reframe. Ask one simple question. What would mercy say? Do not use the question to make an argument. Use it to find the tone of the heart. Mercy often says less and listens more. Mercy points to presence rather than performance. This gentle reframe changes the language inside the head. A short prayer follows this reading. It is not ornate. It is plain and honest. I speak for the courage to name what needs naming. I ask for the grace to receive a mercy that does not demand proof. I offer thanks for small remaking that shows up in everyday life. The prayer ends with a soft surrender of striving for perfect standing here and now. After the prayer, I keep a little silence. Silence is not empty. It is a space where the words can settle. In that quiet, notice the body, any looseness in the shoulders, a slower beat, a softer jaw. These small signs matter. They show that grace is not only language, it becomes felt. If tears come, let them. Tears often open places that words cannot. If laughter comes small and sudden, welcome it. Both are part of the same healing. Both show that the heart is learning new ways to be held. Before closing the Bible, I look toward morning with a small, gentle hope. Embrace the truth of imperfection as a shared human condition. Receive the grace that meets the condition not to hide faults, but to change how they live within. Let that truth reshape the night. I end this part with a short blessing. May the knowledge of common frailty bend toward mercy. May grace meet the places that feel most raw. May sleep come without the weight of relentless striving. May the morning bring a softer readiness to try again. The lamp dims. The page rests, closed. For now, the voice drops to a whisper. Stay in the hush a few beats longer. Breathe in. Breathe out. Hold the brief line in the heart I receive grace. Now, when the next reading begins, it will find the same hush waiting. The lamp is low. The room keeps its hush. The Bible rests open in my lap. Tonight, I turn to a short line in Ephesians that asks something simple of us. It asks us to be kind. It asks us to grow a tenderness toward one another. I read the verse slowly, as an invitation, not as a demand. The words land like soft rain. They do not preach. They open a small door. Compassion is not a large motion here. It is a series of careful steps. I want to walk those steps with you. I remember a night not long ago. A neighbor knocked and left a small basket on my doorstep. The basket held plain bread and a note that said nothing urgent. The hand that left it did not know what was heavy inside my head. The hand only knew how to give. That small act taught me how close kindness can be to ordinary life. It showed that compassion often arrives in plain packaging. Compassion begins with attention. We listen more than we speak. We let the other person have space to speak their tired truths. This is not always easy. The mind wants to fix. The heart wants to tidy. But sometimes the greatest gift is to sit still and hold the attention like a quiet lamp. Practice it tonight. Sit with the breathing. Place a hand over the chest. Imagine listening as an action in the body, not only in the mind, A gentle exercise helps. Think of one person who crossed paths with you today, not a headline figure, not a distant idea. A neighbor, a clerk, a co-worker. Picture their face, softly. Do not try to solve their story. Imagine the small burdens they carry. Let your breath become the simple response. Inhale, hold, exhale with a wish of kindness. Repeat this 3 times. Each repetition is a tiny widening of the heart's room. Compassion has a strange way of multiplying when practiced. Small mercies lead to more. A short message of thanks sent to someone who does unseen work creates a chain. A quiet act of patience, when traffic holds up time, changes the tone of the hour. The point is not to score good deeds. The point is to learn a posture that notices and then acts in small, steady ways. I learned to widen compassion by learning to hold my own pain gently. That sounds like a paradox. But the more I stopped beating myself for being tired or slow, the more space I had to notice others. Harsh self-judgment narrows the chest. Mercy for oneself softens it. Try this small practice now. Name one thing about yourself that feels strained. Whisper a single phrase under the breath. This is heavy. Do not pile words on it. A short acknowledgement loosens the grip. From that looseness, attention to others comes easier. Another practice is to ask gentle questions in the mind when someone seems closed. What might be happening inside them? What small thing would make their moment lighter? Questions like these are not an escape into fantasy. They are a deliberate turning toward curiosity, rather than quick judgment. Curiosity becomes a hand that reaches without grabbing. Compassion also shows itself in patience. The night teaches patience with time. The body needs longer to unwind sometimes. The same patience can be offered to others. When conversations take time to come around to what matters, sit with the pause. When a friend repeats a hurt, allow the repetition. The heart often needs to circle the same wound before it can land differently. Be the steady presence that does not hurry the healing. Physical gestures matter. A note left on a kitchen table, a cup of tea prepared with no speech attached, a hand laid lightly on the back for a moment of steadying. These small actions are languages of tenderness. They do not require eloquence. They require courage to be simple. Mercy often asks us to set aside quick answers. The world rushes to explanations. Compassion sometimes sits without one. It trusts that presence is enough. Presence does not mean indifference to truth. It means holding truth and vulnerability together. The wise restraint to pause and listen can be more faithful than an immediate correction. In the hush of the night, practice that restraint. Read a short line from the Bible. As a reminder, let the line sit. Wait. Breathe. Notice how waiting can itself be an act of care. Boundaries are part of compassion too. Saying no can be a form of kindness when yes would drain the heart. The gentle art of saying no needs a soft voice and a steady hand. When limits are clear, compassion is sustainable. Teach the body to notice when giving becomes gulping. A hand on the chest can remind us when to breathe and when to rest. Forgiveness and compassion walk closely together. Ephesians speaks about tender-heartedness and forgiveness. Forgiveness does not erase memory. It changes how memory meets the day. Practice a brief ritual. Take a scrap of paper. Write a single name or a single hurt. Fold the paper once. Place it somewhere safe. The folding is small and physical. It teaches the hands a new story. The act does not demand instant sweeping away. It simply acknowledges and then shelters the hurt for a night. Listening with the heart requires slowing speech. Short sentences work better in this room. When words come, allow space after them. Silence becomes a place where meaning settles. When reading scripture, I leave longer pauses. Those pauses allow mercy to find its way into the body. Use those pauses too. Hold the silence like a soft blanket over the exchange. Compassion grows when we learn to see the person beneath the behavior. Often, outward harshness hides a tremor inside. A sharp word comes from a cracked place. Imagine the crack as a window rather than a lock. Look through it to the human need inside. That reframing shifts reaction into response. It does not excuse harm. It gives a different angle to the work of repair. Acts of service are quiet teachers. Offering a reed, carrying a bag, mowing a small lawn. These do not need to be grand. Their value is in being done without drawing attention. They teach the hands that kindness looks like work. The hands learn through the gentle repetition of useful motion. Compassion is also a practice of tone. The voice that speaks kindly changes the shape of the room. When reading scripture late at night, I listen for the softest tone inside me, the tone that does not sharpen or plead, the tone that keeps its center. You can practice finding that tone with a short sentence. Read it aloud once. Listen to how the chest responds. Repeat with small pauses. Let the voice teach the body a new calm. Longing and hope sit quietly within compassion. We hope for the well-being of others without demanding their immediate transformation. Hope rests in steady, patient acts. Do not rush results. Plant small seeds. Water them gently. The harvest often comes in seasons, not in the urgency of a single night. A short prayer follows this reading. The prayer is not ornate. It is an invitation. I ask for a wider heart. I ask for hands that are willing to help. I ask for eyes that see beyond the surface. I ask for courage to hold boundaries when needed. The prayer ends in a soft silence that keeps the tone low and faithful. After the prayer, sit in stillness. Breathe with care. Notice any small shift in the chest, maybe a loosened jaw, maybe a longer exhale, maybe a small warmth behind the eyes. All these are signs that the practice is taking root. If tears come, allow them. If a quiet smile appears, welcome it. Both are part of the same opening. The heart is learning to expand. Before I close this part, a tiny exercise to take into the night. Think of 3 small gestures you can give tomorrow. Nothing grand. A note of thanks, a cup of coffee, a few minutes of undivided listening. Keep the list short. Keep the actions simple. Let them be doable. Compassion grows in the soil of repetition. I end with a calm blessing. May tenderness meet you in small ways tonight. May your hands learn the quiet work of mercy. May your voice be a steady presence for those who need a gentle hearing. May your own heart receive the same kindness you give. The night will hold all these small acts. Rest into that holding. Part 7 closes with that steady hush. The Bible closes lightly. The lamp leans into the dark. The room keeps its watch. When you are ready, let sleep come. When morning comes, carry one small gesture into the day. The next passage will wait in the quiet, ready to meet the heart again. The lamp is low. The room keeps its hush. Tonight, I take the Bible in my hands and tell a story that rests like a valley between two hills. It is a story about leaving and coming home. It is a story about a father who waits with arms open. It is a story that speaks of mercy in a way the heart can feel. I begin simply. A family lives in a small place. A son asks for his share and leaves. He goes into the wide world. At first there is bright light and loud music. Money changes hands without worry. The son learns new freedom. The world seems large and kind. Then seasons turn. The pockets thin. The circle of friends grows small. Hunger arrives. Work is low and hard. The son finds himself adrift in a field of strangers. Pride is a weight now turned inside out. The last coin goes away. What once seemed like liberty feels like age. Alone and hungry. The son remembers home. He remembers a kitchen and a familiar chair. He remembers the steady sound of steps on the porch. The memory sharpens. It is not a mood of anger. It is a small, honest age. He decides to go back. The decision is not a parade. It is a slow walk with a steady heart. He plans to say sorry and to ask for work. He imagines a small place in the house. Humble is the word for his plan. I read this part slowly. The image is of a dusk road and tired feet. The sky is wide. The steps are measured. Each step is one small act toward home. The scene feels like an inhale held and then released. When the sun draws near, something unexpected happens. The father sees him from a distance. He does not wait for a speech. He leaves his place and hurries. The hurry is unlike the stern pace of judgment. It is the quickness of relief that finds its voice later. The father meets the son with running steps. There is no count of past injuries. There is only welcome that arrives before argument. The son brings the words he rehearsed. He is ready to offer apology and humble work. But before the words finish, the father shows mercy. A robe is put around weary shoulders. A ring is placed on the hand. Shoes are set on the feet that once longed for the road. A meal begins. A celebration opens like a door thrown wide. The household brightens again. Music comes back. Softer now, but alive. I let that image hang. Mercy looks like hands that move without calculation. It looks like a table set for the one who has been away. It looks like a choice to restore rather than to tally losses. The act is extravagant. The gift is not measured in coin. It is measured by the size of the heart that gives. There is another room in the house. The older son stands there with a different ache. He tends the fields. He keeps steady and true. The return and the celebration press on him like cold wind. He asks why. He remembers loyalty and long days. The scene shows a human truth. Mercy does not erase pain felt by those who remain faithful. Their grief is not dismissed here. The father steps into that room as well. He does not lecture. He offers a soft explanation about joy and recovery. He reminds that a return is not a theft of justice. The father insists that the lost one has been found. The body's posture changes. The older son hears that the household is not a tally of merits, but a place where return is celebrated. I read this with slow pauses. I do not rush the sense that emotions can be multiple at once. The tale holds both the tenderness that meets the returning and the longing of the one who stayed. Both are true. Both are held under the same roof of mercy. The marrow of this story is simple. People wander. People stumble. A kind hand meets them on the road home. Mercy chooses restoration. Mercy loves the messy task of putting things back together. The father's welcome does not erase consequence. It offers a new start nonetheless. That offering is a quiet revolution. I press the image gently into the room. Imagine the father as a lamp by the doorway. The lamp waits. It notices the smallest outline of a form on the road. It throws light that changes distance into shape. Mercy is that lamp. It does not question the hours of darkness. It simply brightens the path where the steps appear. There is a lesson that fits into a slow night. Forgiveness often looks less like a ledger closed and more like a household open. It asks us to accept returns as a cause for joy. It asks us to see the brave act it takes to come home. Coming back is not always a theatrical confession. It can be a single, trembling step toward a threshold. Sometimes, the heavy part of the story sits with those who never walked away. Their faithfulness can harden into judgment. The older son's pain comforts me because it is honest. The house needs both honesty and mercy. The two can live together if the heart does not make the other's return feel like a theft. I move the voice softer now. Think of a night when a return felt impossible. Think how small a step might change everything. If a single weary foot can cross the yard, the current of life shifts. The welcome that meets the step does more than restore a place at the table. It changes the pattern of belonging. Mercy is not cheap. It is costly in the currency of grace. The father's running costs him dignity and the neatness of rule. He stoops and meets the son on the road to show that love moves first. That movement offers a language the weary can learn. It says that home is a posture, not a reward for perfection. I lead a short practice now. Place a hand over the heart. Feel the steady beat beneath the palm. Picture a small road in the dark. Imagine a silhouette walking toward home. Do not hurry the image. Let it come in the rhythm of the breath. With each out-breath, let a line of welcome form in the mind. With each in-breath, imagine the returning step coming closer. Let the chest answer with a soft opening. There is mercy to be practiced in the ordinary day. A quiet choice to receive a person back. A meal made without preconditions. A word of gladness rather than a score of past wrongs. These acts are small but repeated. They stitch communities together. They teach the hands to give before the mind demands accounting. If old habits make withholding the default, take one tiny step. Offer a small kindness to a person who has hurt you, not to erase what was done. not to forget, but to open a door that might allow the person to stand in a new way. Mercy is not a forgetting. It is a rearrangement of how the past dwells in the present. I am careful with the end of this telling. The story does not pretend life is easy after a return. Repair takes time. Trust rebuilds slowly. The feast is the beginning of a long day of mending, but the open hand at the door makes mending possible. It makes a road out of what once felt like ruins. Now I close the book with slow fingers. A small prayer follows. Quiet and plain. I ask for courage to return when needed. I ask for the grace to meet a returning heart without tally. I ask for patience for those who stayed faithful. The prayer keeps no harsh demands. It is a soft asking for the house to be wide. I leave a moment of silence. Let the story sit. Breathe with it. Notice any change in the chest. Maybe a warm looseness. Maybe a small ache turned gentle. Both are welcome. Both show the living of mercy inside the bones. Before sleep takes the eyes completely. Imagine yourself on that road. Imagine the lamp at the door. Imagine footsteps slowing as they near. Receive the welcome if you need it. Offer it if someone needs your arms. The night is full of small returns. The heart can find its way home. Part 8 closes with that image. The lamp dims a fraction. The house keeps its hush. Rest in the thought that mercy runs first. Rest in the knowledge that coming home is always worth the walk. The lamp stays low. The room keeps its hush. The Bible rests where fingers can find it. Tonight I turn to a line that asks for a simple courage. The book speaks about trusting with the whole heart and not leaning only on my own understanding. It asks me to acknowledge God in the small ways of a day and to let the path be guided. The words are plain. They sit like a soft compass. I remember one clear night when the need to trust felt very large. A choice lay before me. It was not dramatic in the sense of thunder and drums. It was quiet and steady and heavy. A small door had opened in the life. Beyond it lay a route that would change how days were spent. I carried lists of reasons for each side. The mind filed pros and cons like careful index cards. The heart kept pressing for certainty that never came. I make tea and sit with the papers. The house breathes with the sound of the kettle. A single chair takes my weight. The lamp throws a small circle on the floor. Outside, a distant car makes its slow, passing sound. Inside, the head keeps rehearsing possible outcomes. Every argument feels plausible. Every fear feels reasonable. Nothing felt decisive. I opened the Bible and read the advice again. Slowly, the sentence asks for trust that is whole rather than partial. It suggests that leaning on private cleverness leaves the body tight. It offers a softer path name what is happening. Turn that naming toward God. And then let the steps be guided. The words do not promise an instant map. They promise a companionship that steadies the feet. That night I try something small and practical. I set the papers aside. They will be there tomorrow. I place one hand over the heart. Warmth gives a steady measure. I breathe in slowly for 4 counts. I hold for a breath or 2. I breathe out long for 6 counts. The longer out-breath loosens the chest. The rhythm is kind. It is not a cure. It is a quiet training for the nerves. I speak a short sentence in the mind as a touchstone, not a long sermon, not a list of demands, a small line that can be returned to when the mind spins. The phrase steadies like a rung on a ladder. The phrase is simple. I will trust and not depend only on my own understanding. Saying it once is enough. Saying it slowly helps the hands and the breath learn a new cadence. Images help. I picture an arrow, winding track on a hill. The way ahead is partly hidden by low mist. A lamp sits on a post a little distance ahead. It does not show every rock. It shows enough to take the next step. The lamp is steady. It does not rush. It only points and waits. The picture is not a promise that the road will be easy. It is a promise that the next step will be lit. The mind protests. It lists the possible pitfalls again. It asks for safety net. It asks for guarantees. I do not try to answer every objection. I let the objections pass like small birds on a fence. I return to the breath. I return to the touchstone phrase. Each repetition is a small rerouting. Fear keeps coming, but its edges soften with each gentle return. I read the verse once more, this time in a slow voice that does not demand proof. The pace matters. Speed scatters attention. Slow cadence gathers it. Each pause is a room. Each room lets the heart listen. The book's counsel begins to feel less like an abstract rule and more like a friend reminding me to relax my grip. Trust does not erase responsibility. It changes the way responsibility is carried. The lists of pros and cons still have value. Practical choices still need good judgment. Trust is not a lazy abandon. It is a posture that says, I will make careful choices. And I will leave the larger map in hands steadier than my anxiety. That night I picked 3 small steps as a practical plan. First, name the choice in one plain sentence. No argument. No justification. Just the fact. Second, decide one action that could be taken tomorrow. That would be forward but not reckless. A single, manageable move. Third, sleep, and let the rest of the path be guided. The act of making a small plan calmed the mind. The body released a notch of tension. Sleep came not as a final answer, but as a truce. The head stopped rehearsing every wrong. The breath slowed. The lamp dimmed a degree. In the morning the mind was still present with its questions, but the chest felt steadier. The decision did not feel like a cliff edge anymore. It felt like a road that could be walked carefully. Since that night, the practice has become a quiet habit. When a decision looms, the first move is to place the Bible on the lap. The next move is a slow breath. A short phrase is chosen as a touchstone. The third move is a tiny action that advances the work. These 3 moves do not always point to the option chosen. Sometimes they point to waiting. Sometimes they point to a small step forward. Either way, the posture of trust changes the shape of the night. I do not promise that trust removes worry. Nights still come when the mind clings to every what-if. Trust does not silence all noise. It offers an alternative rhythm. The alternative is less frantic. It is steadier. The heart learns to hold uncertainty alongside trust, like one hand holding a map while the other rests on a lamp. A brief exercise may help if uncertainty visits tonight. Sit or lie in a way that does not strain the neck. Place one hand lightly over the heart. Breathe in for a soft 4 counts. Hold the breath for 2. Breathe out for 6. Repeat 3 times. Then say a short touchstone sentence quietly in the mind. It can be the one I used. It can be another short line that fits the heart. Let the sentence rest on the out-breath. Imagine a lamp down the road that shows enough for the next step. Keep the eyes closed a few slow breaths longer. Open them gently. Trust grows by small returns. It is practiced in small choices. It is tested in ordinary days. When the practice is repeated, the nervous system learns that not every doubt is a signal to panic. The body begins to carry decisions with less strain. The mind learns to ask fewer frantic questions at midnight and more simple ones at dawn. There is a tenderness to this kind of trust. It is not brash. It is not proud. It is quiet, like a lamp in the window. It invites, rather than insists. It does not demand immediate success. It allows for slow learning and for mild failure. Grace sits in the room with a decision and makes the night bearable. I close this part with a short prayer. I do not search for perfect words. I offer a simple asking for courage to trust, for gentleness toward the self when fears appear, and for wisdom to take small, careful steps. The prayer is brief. It is an act of handing the heavy papers to someone who sees more than the lists. It is an invitation to let the path be guided without losing the work of discernment. Stay a moment in the silence after that short prayer. Let the breath answer. Notice any small loosening in the chest. If the body remains tight, return to the 3 moves. Name the fact. Choose one gentle action. And breathe. Repeat as needed. May trust find its small footing in the night. May the lamp ahead be steady enough for the next step. May sleep come with the calm that comes from shared care. The Bible closes lightly. For now, the hush keeps watch. When the next passage comes, it will meet a heart that has practiced a little courage to trust. The lamp is low. The room keeps its hush. I lift the Bible and let my fingers rest on the page that holds a steady invitation. Matthew 1:1-2, 8-30 sits like a small doorway. It calls the weary to come and offers rest. It speaks of a yoke that is easy and a burden that becomes light. I read it not to argue, but to open a quiet space. The voice stays soft. Each sentence is short. The speed is slow. The aim is to help the body slow as well. The night is already gentle. The words of Christ arrive like a hand on a tired shoulder. They do not push. They only invite. I remember a night when the weight felt like a coat that would not come off. Tasks. Regrets. Small and large worries. All layered. The shoulders curved forward with habit. The mind rehearsed every should. Sleep kept slipping away. The chest tightened with that familiar ache of too much. I set the coat on a chair, but habit kept pulling it back on. The invitation in Matthew felt like a teacher kindly holding a sleeve and guiding the hand away. Surrender here is not a dramatic surrender on a battlefield. It is a soft unbuttoning. It is a willing placing of weight on another set of hands. Imagine standing by a river at dusk. The coat is heavy from the day's rain. You step close to the water and let the coat slide from the shoulders. It does not vanish. It rests at the knee. The arms feel lighter. The breath deepens. That lightness is honest and usable. The image of a yoke helps. A yoke often brings to mind a heavy wooden frame, but here the promised yoke fits. It rests gently across the shoulders. It matches the shape of the neck and chest. It does not press. Instead, it teaches a rhythm. Two oxen in step do not strain against one another. They walk with the same pace and direction. The life of surrender is learning that rhythm. It is not sudden. It is a patient alignment. I guide the room into that patient alignment. Sit or lie in a way that keeps the neck soft. Place a hand where it feels natural. Breathe in for a soft 4 counts. Hold just a beat. Breathe out for 6. Let the exhale be the longer motion with each out-breath. Imagine the weight on the shoulders shifting a fraction toward another hand. That hand is steady. It is willing. It does the carrying without hurry. Name one burden quietly in the mind. A single word will do. Say that word once. Not to judge. Only to place it. Visualize handing it over. Do not try to explain it fully. Do not stack reasons and defenses. The act is small. It is honest. Let the image of handing be brief and gentle, like passing a cup at a table. Feel the chest after that small offering. Often a minute change appears. The ribs loosen the tiniest degree. The jaw relaxes a whisper. The eyes feel heavier with a good weariness rather than a taut strain. This is not always immediate. Some burdens remain thick. Some take many small handings before relief arrives. The practice is patient work, not instant magic. Christ's offer of rest carries a tone that is mild and steady. He invites learning, not forced obedience. The idea of becoming a learner is restful in itself. The learner watches and imitates. Learning that kind of rest requires time. It asks for trust that the teacher knows the right pace. It asks for willingness to slow. Think of the teacher as a patient guide walking beside you down a long, quiet road. The guide does not hurry. The guide points out small things on the way: a lamp in a window, a cat asleep on a step, the sound of water in a gutter. The attention shifts from panic to noticing. The act of noticing untangles the tight knot of worry. It is a slow transformation. If restless thoughts return, meet them with a single breath and the touchstone of the verse. Do not argue. Return to the breath. Return to the single word you chose to hand over. Use that small phrase as an anchor. The phrase need not be eloquent. Keep it simple. Come. Rest. Take. Learn. Give. Receive. Let it nestle into the exhale. A tiny practice can make this real over nights. Before lying down, place an object on the bedside table. It can be a stone, a small scarf, a ring. With the object in hand, name one burden and then set the object gently down. The placing is a physical sacrament. It is a small, visible handing that the hands remember. In the morning, the object remains. The memory of the hand's action does not prove everything solved. It reminds the body that a choice was made to release. Mercy in this passage feels like a cool breeze on a hot day. It does not demand a list of credentials. It arrives as welcome for the tired and the burdened. The welcome covers many things: the fear that sleep will not come, the shame that lingers, the anxiety that tightens the breath. The welcome does not trivialize these realities. It offers a companion who is content to walk the slow path. Learning the easy yoke includes learning the small art of rest. Rest is not always sleep. Sometimes rest is the breath that is longer. Sometimes it is a moment of soft attention to a lamp. Sometimes it is the decision to close the day's ledger for a single night. The night is allowed to be a place where work pauses and healing begins. I say the words in a short prayer. It is not ornate. It is a handing with soft speech. I ask for courage to lay burdens down. I ask for a willing heart to learn the cadence of the yoke. I ask that mercy sit close as the pillow does, warm and steady. The prayer is brief. It is honest. It finishes with surrender and a small thank you for the offer of rest. Leave a few seconds of silence. Let the words just said sit like a soft weight on a chair. Silence is a place where the heart can notice subtle change. Breathe with the silence. Notice any slackening in the shoulders. Notice the steadier rhythm under the palm. These small signs matter. They show that even slight choices toward surrender begin to change the body. If tears come, welcome them. They are part of the river that carries the stone. If a small smile rises, accept it. Both are signs of the soul shifting into a new posture. Neither proves a final answer. Both are evidence of movement in the desired direction. Tonight's practice is not a test of faith or resolve. It is a simple offering. Choose one burden. Hand it over. Breathe. And allow the steady presence to take up its weight. Repeat as needed. Small acts of handing become habits. Habits remake the night. Before closing, imagine a plank bridge lit at slow intervals. Each plank is a small act of surrender, one at a time. Step forward. Do not expect to cross the whole span at once. Let the pace be steady and gentle. The lamp at the far end does not force haste. It simply holds a point to aim toward. I close the Bible with careful fingers. The lamp dims a notch. The voice softens further. The room keeps its hush. A short blessing stays. May the yoke fit gently. May burdens find willing hands. May sleep arrive as a quiet companion. Rest for the night is an offered gift. Receive it with the small grace of a willing hand. Part 10 ends on that quiet promise. The next reading will meet the same slow room. For now, lie down if it feels right. Place the hand where it rests best. Breathe long. Let the offered rest gather you into its gentle keeping. The lamp stays low. The room keeps its hush. I open the Bible and find a line that feels like a hand clap in a quiet house. Zephaniah 3:1-7 speaks of God's delight. It says, "The Lord rejoices over us with gladness. I say that not as a doctrine to argue. I say it as a soft fact to hold tonight. I sit with that image for a long breath. The idea of God rejoicing is not meant to shame. It is meant to soften. It lifts the small things into a different light. A tiny win becomes worthy of a gentle celebration. A slow morning can be a small festival. A brief kindness is not trivial. It is a note in a larger song. I remember a morning when the victory was a single clean cup. The kettle had whistled before dawn. A hand moved without clumsiness. The tea was made without burning the tongue. It is silly to call it a triumph. It felt like one. I set the cup on the table and noticed the steam rise, steady and plain. The small success carved a moment of ease into the day. Later, I understood how that single small thing changed more than the schedule. It changed the tone. It allowed kindness to show up in the next sentence. I spoke to someone else. Small victories come in many shapes. A bed made after a restless night. An apology offered with a voice that does not tremble. A letter finished and dropped into a mailbox that aches to be mailed. A breath held long enough to stop a harsh reply. A meal eaten even when appetite is thin. A hand that unclenches. These are not fireworks. They are quiet lights placed along the path. God notices them. The text pictures a God who will sing over such moments. I read that line softly. I let the cadence be slow. The words land like a bell rung in a cathedral. Not loud, not intrusive. Clear. The thought that God takes delight is a kind of permission. It permits small celebrations. It allows us to name tiny wins without embarrassment. Tonight I invite a short practice. It takes little time and little effort. You do not need proof or a perfect memory. Sit or lie as you are. Place a hand where it feels natural. Breathe in with attention. Breathe out with a willing ease. Now pick one small victory from today. Not a lifetime change. A small thing. The object of the practice is to honor the small. Say it quietly in the mind. A single phrase will do. Keep it short. Let it be as simple as I made tea. I answered the call. Ich raste für 10 minutes. I chose kindness instead of a sharp word. Let the phrase be a pin on the map of your day. Breathe in. Hold. Let the small memory come back in soft detail. See the light on the counter. Hear the barely audible clink. Smell the faint steam. Let the senses hold the moment. Breathe out and imagine that one small act meets a kind gaze. Imagine a warmth that is not pressed or urgent. Imagine a delight, gentle and steady. The verse in Zephaniah pictures God rejoicing with shouts of joy and singing. Do not imagine trumpet blasts. Imagine a song, a lullaby that also dances. Imagine the voice close enough to be felt rather than heard. Let the picture settle under the ribs. Let it lift the small victory until it feels less ordinary and more like a gift. Say a short word of thanks. One sentence is enough. Not a list. Not a prayer of bargaining. A line like this suffices. Thank you for this small good. Let the line rest on the out-breath. Repeat once or twice. If that comforts, keep the tone low. Keep the cadence slow. Notice what shifts. Maybe the chest loosens the smallest degree. Maybe the eyes feel warm. Maybe the shoulders drop a fraction. These small physical signs are part of the change. They show that the body registers celebration when the heart allows it. There is mercy in this small rejoicing. Mercy is not only for the great rescues, it lives in tiny forgivenesses, in the willingness to start again after a stumble. Celebrate the moment you turned away from sharpness and chose a softer way. Give thanks for the mercy that met the failure and made space for repair. I am careful with words about joy. I do not suggest that joy wipes away sorrow. The night still holds pain. The world still carries hard facts. Small rejoicings do not pretend otherwise. They are stitches. They do not replace the whole garment. They mend a corner and make continued living possible. Celebrate small victories together when you can. A geared note left on a table. A text that says, "I saw what you did. Thank you." A plate left where a friend will find it. These acts of recognition gather the tiny lights into something larger. They teach hands to notice goodness where it is easy to miss. Sometimes the small victory is internal. A thought that did not spiral, a shame not fed by rumination, a grudge eased into a softer place. Such victories are private, but no less real. They deserve the same recognition. Let the hand rest on the heart for that one. Breathe slow. Offer the same one-line thanks. There is also room for small celebrations of endurance. The sound of completing an ordinary work. The quiet making of a bed each morning. Day after day. The decision to try again. These are not spectacular. They are steady. God delights in faithfulness as well as in triumph. The verse says, "The Lord delights and quiets." There is a tenderness in that quieting. It is the sound of praise that is not loud but true. If it helps, mark the victory physically. Place a small object on the bedside table, a pebble or a leaf or a small ring. Let it be a token of the day's small good. In the morning, the token will be a visible witness. It keeps the practice alive over time. The work of noticing becomes a habit as the hand learns to pick up the pebble and name the small good once more. I read the line from Zephaniah again. Slower. The voice is lower. The room is still. The sentence acts as a gentle compass. It points not toward self-congratulation. It points toward gratitude. The gratitude is first directed upward, not because gifts come only from above, but because the presence of God is a steady frame in which small things gain meaning. A short prayer follows the practice. I do not use a long speech. I speak a humble sentence. I ask that the ability to notice small goods grow. I ask that the heart be gentle toward itself when victories seem few. I ask for courage to celebrate the little things with others. I say thank you for mercy that meets the small failures along the way. We keep a few breaths of silence after the prayer. Let the silence be a room where the thank you can settle. Let it be wide enough for the small image of rejoicing to rest. The silence is not empty. It holds the small song. If tears come, let them come. Tears sometimes release a sudden gratitude that was held back. If a quiet smile appears, welcome it. Both are honest responses to the smallness and the grace of the night. Before I close the book, I invite one more small act. Think of one person who shared a small good with you this week. Imagine them in a soft light. Offer a quick blessing in the mind for their rest. You do not need words. A gentle wish is enough. Let that wish float like a small boat on calm water. I end this part with a gentle assurance. The one who rejoices over us notices the small things. The small victories matter. They are part of the steady work of healing. Let each small celebration be a step toward larger rest. The lamp dims a hair. The Bible closes lightly on my lap. The hush stays. Rest now. Carrying one small victory with you into the night. When morning comes, let your eyes look for another small good. We will name it again together when the next passage waits in this room. The lamp is low. The room keeps its hush. The Bible rests where hands can find it. Tonight, I open to a line that names a promise. It says there is a design for what comes next. It speaks of hope that is meant to last. I do not read the words as argument. I read them as a soft assurance for weary hearts. The sentence feels like a map with a gentle hand on it. It does not show every turn. It points to a direction and offers a companion for the way. The promise does not force a bright ending tonight. It simply keeps a steady aim toward something good that waits ahead. A memory comes. It is small and clear. Years ago, I sat by a window late into a long winter. The panes were rimed with frost. The garden looked closed and dead. A seed packet sat on the sill, almost forgotten. I tucked the packet into a quiet drawer and thought about the word hope like a reluctant guest. The season outside said no. The promise inside said perhaps. Weeks later, the thaw began. A single green tip pushed through the old soil. It was not dramatic. No trumpet sounded. The green tip was small and awkward. It nonetheless pointed forward. Watching that tiny thing grow taught me how hope works in human life. Hope often hides inside patience. It begins with very modest things. Read that verse with me slowly. Say the paraphrase in the mind, a plan for a future, a promise of hope. Let the phrase be a small lamp held near the chest. The sound of the words is soft. They settle. They do not demand a swift answer. Hope in difficult times is not a loud cheer. It is a quiet tending of the next breath. It is a decision to place one stepping stone rather than to clear the entire river at once. In the day's heavy hours, hope looks like a single careful choice. It might be getting out of bed. It might be washing a face. It might be sending a small message to one person. Each of these acts keeps a foot on the path. Tonight I offer a small practice. Take a scrap of paper. If that helps, write one tiny thing you hope for. Not a world-changing vision. A single attainable wish. A short phrase will do. Fold the paper twice. Hold it for a breath. Place it where your hand will find it if you wake. The paper is not a magic token. It is a physical witness to the choice to believe in tomorrow. Breath brings the practice to life. Breathe in slowly. Count to 4. Hold. Breathe out for 6. Repeat 3 times. With the last out-breath, imagine passing the folded scrap to the future like a letter placed in a slow mail bag. Imagine the future receiving it kindly. Let the chest ease a fraction. These small motions retrain the body to live with longing and not be consumed by it. Hope has a steady anatomy. It sits low in the belly at first. Then it finds a way into the chest. It grows quietly. It is often fragile. That fragility does not make it worthless. It simply calls for care. Treat hope like a little lamp. Keep it sheltered from the gusts of despair. Tend it gently. The verse suggests a future that is not random. It hints at intention. That intention is a kind of mercy. It implies the present darkness does not have the last word. The thought is not a promise of immediate comfort. It says the arc of life can bend toward renewal. The idea comforts, without forcing an answer. It gives room for the night to hold both sorrow and a faint, warm expectation. Think of hope as a slow root. Roots are rarely seen. They work under the surface. They gather water and store it. In winter, the root rests. In spring, the same root feeds new shoots. The house of your life may feel cold now. Roots are still at work. The presence that watches over time does not abandon the hidden work. Sometimes hope proves itself by endurance rather than by evidence. A letter that never arrives can still be shown as hope by the act of writing it. The writing is not naive. It is a moral posture. It trains the hands to aim again. Training the hands matters because the body remembers action more easily than argument. The small deed of preparing a meal, of making a call, of sitting beside someone, keeps hope practical. When fear presses tonight, do a very short thing. Name one small hope aloud in the mind, not to celebrate a big outcome, just to set a point on the horizon. Say it once. Let silence follow. Hold the breath quietly. The mind will test the claim. Let it test. Do not argue. Return to the breath again. The repetition is the practice. I have seen hope at work in many quiet rooms. A patient who could barely speak still asked for a change of music. A neighbor with hands that trembled offered to sweep a path outside. A friend with a broken schedule kept a promise to show up. These acts are small. They are also proof that hope is not only about grand plans. It is about daily faithfulness. The promise in the verse includes the idea of a future. Future here does not always mean success by the world's measure. It can mean restoration of ordinary capacities. It can mean a renewed capacity to care. It can mean a freeing of the chest so that the next small kindness can be offered. Think of the future as a next room rather than a finishing line. A short prayer follows this gentle reading. The prayer is simple. I speak for a calm steadying of the heart. I ask for courage to hold one small hope. I ask for patience for the slow work of growing. The tone is low. The language is plain. The asking is not a demand. It is a handing over of a quiet wish. Leave a few breaths of silence after the prayer. Let the room be wide enough for both sorrow and small light. Listen to the hush as if it were a soft sea. Let it carry the tiny paper placed on the bedside. Allow the hush to store the wish until morning. If tears come, let them flow. They are part of hope's workshop. Tears do not show weakness. They show a heart that is tender and alive. If a small smile appears, welcome it. Both outcomes are gifts that accompany the slow moving of hope. Tonight, choose one gesture that keeps hope simple. Fold a paper. Place Bible. Light a small candle for a moment, and then safely set it down. Each ritual is modest. Each ritual teaches the hands and the heart to expect a day beyond the present one. Mercy meets the promise of hope in quiet ways. It does not rush the timetable. It rests beside the aches and counts them as real. It promises a future that grows out of small, faithful acts. Mercy does not deny pain. It softens it enough to let another step be taken. The reading ends with a calm invitation. Rest in the thought that plans for a future are not only for others, they are for you. Let the sentence sit like a map folded into a pocket. Keep it near through the night. The map may not show all hazards. It shows enough for the next step. When sleep comes, let it carry the small folded hope. Dream as if the tiny lamp will be found again at dawn. When wakefulness returns, touch the paper or pebble and remember the choice to believe in one manageable thing, a better morning. That choice is the first tender work of larger hope. I close the book lightly. The lamp dims a notch. The voice settles into a whisper. A short blessing stays. May a patient hope find you tonight. May the future come with gentleness. May your hands be ready for the small acts that make mornings kinder. Part 12 ends with that steady pause. The next passage will wait. For now, breathe, soften, and hold one small promise for the future. The lamp is very low. The room keeps its hush. The Bible rests where hands can find it. Tonight, I turn to a line that asks for quiet. The sentence invites stillness and the knowing that follows. I say it slowly and let the sound hang in the air. I read the verse not to argue. I read it to offer a place to rest the mind. Be still and know that I am God becomes a gentle instruction. It asks the body to stop. It asks the mind to stop running. It makes room for a different kind of listening. I remember a night in an old chapel. The chapel has a small skylight and wooden benches. No songs play. No voices interrupt. The floor keeps a faint coolness. I slip into a bench and let the single square of sky rest on the face. The city is far enough to be a soft hum. The building holds its own breath. Sitting there, the urge to plan and to solve loosens. Thought does not vanish, but it pauses in the doorway. The stillness arrives like a tide that does not force the sand. It simply covers what needs covering for a while. In that blank of noise, a different sense of presence grows. It is not a bright idea. It is a quiet knowing that something steady is near. Stillness is not empty. It is a room that receives things. Letting the mind be still does not mean pretending nothing matters. It means offering those matters a place to sit without shouting. When the body stops its busy correcting, the heart often finds a softer posture. Tension finds a place to uncoil. Try this with me. Sit or lie in a comfortable way. Allow the shoulders to drop. Let the jaw soften. Place a hand where it feels steady. Keep your eyes soft. Inhale slowly. Hold for a small beat. Exhale and imagine the breath carrying a small worry out of the room. Repeat the cycle. Each out-breath is a small permission to let go. Be still is not only a command, it is an invitation to know. The knowing is not merely information. It is closeness. It is the sense that a steady presence watches without urgency. That presence does not fix everything on the spot. It simply meets the tired places with a steadiness that repairs slowly. I once carried a tightness for weeks. The mind threaded through the same set of anxieties each night. A list of outcomes marched like soldiers in thought. On a night when the list felt too loud, the chapel offered stillness. I read that small line and let it settle like cool water on the tongue. The tightness did not vanish. It softened enough to allow a breath that lasted longer. That longer breath was the first small repair. The change that stillness brings is often tiny at first. It might be a deeper exhale. It might be a slightly less clenched jaw. It might be a softer place under the ribs. These small shifts matter. They are the first movements toward a fuller renewal. The body learns by small motions. Gentle change repeated becomes a new habit. When practicing stillness, sensory detail helps. Notice the feel of the blanket. Notice the faint creak of the chair. Notice the temperature at the fingertips. Let the senses be anchors. They do not demand big thoughts. They only keep the attention tethered. A tethered mind is less likely to run into worry like a startled animal. The knowing that comes in stillness is not always dramatic. It often feels like a hush. It is a recognition that a presence is nearer than anticipated. That presence may not speak in words. It works by steadying the chest and calming the palms. Sometimes the only sign is a simple confidence that one more breath is possible. I keep the voice slow as I read the verse aloud to you, not to instruct in theory, to shape the room. The cadence matters. Words that tumble do not comfort. Words that fall steadily make a path for the breath to follow. Pause between phrases. Let the silence be a place where meaning can settle. Practice a short listening exercise now. Read the line in the mind, be still, and know. Let it be a soft bell without sharp edges. Breathe with it. On each in-breath, imagine lifting a small corner of the mind. On each out-breath, let a single worry rest on the floor. Repeat 5 gentle cycles. Do not push the mind into blankness. Allow thoughts to come and go like ripples on a pond. The pond image helps. A still pond does not have less life. It simply shows more. Fish go about their small work beneath the surface. The reflection becomes clearer when wind ceases. In the same way, stillness allows internal life to be seen without distortion. The reflection that appears may be surprising. It may show a deeper need. It may show a quiet mercy. Renewal in stillness often has a bodily tone. Muscles that seemed locked find a new length. Sleep arrives easier when the body is not braced. Appetite returns. Small irritations that once consumed the evening loosen their hold. The mind learns a new rhythm. This renewal is not always instant. It is patient. It grows with each unhurried practice. There is risk in stillness for some. Silence may bring up old pain. If that happens, do not judge the response. Stay with a small grounding step. Name a single, safe thing in the room. Place attention there. Breathe slowly. If the pain feels sharp, allow one small murmur of asking for help. The moment calls for gentleness. Sometimes stillness opens the door to necessary healing. Let it be slow. Knowing God in the quiet feels like learning a voice that does not shout. The voice is experienced more than defined. It shows up as a reassurance that holds even when answers are not immediate. That assurance is a steady light in the chest, not a bright glare. Its work is slow and making. One practical path I use is to set a small timer for 5 minutes. In those 5 minutes, I hold the verse and the breath together. No fornes, no plans, just the practice. The timer is a kindness. It gives the body permission to stop. The end of the 5 minutes is not a verdict on success. It is a soft boundary that trains discipline without pressure. A variation of the exercise is a simple listening posture. Close the eyes softly. Imagine a single point in the room dimly lit. Let the attention rest there. Breathe and listen. Do not aim for depth of thought. Aim for depth of attention. Notice the slow rise and fall beneath the palm. Let the mind be a watcher rather than a fixer. Mercy often arrives in these quiet sessions. It does not ride in on trumpets. It sits like a warm shawl across the shoulders. The shawl does not make the cold vanish. It makes the cold less urgent. That relief lets the body accept rest. Rest is not a moral failing. It is part of the grace of being human. When the stillness deepens, a quiet willingness to receive grows. Plans may still be necessary tomorrow. Problems may remain. The gift tonight is a room of calm in which to place them. The rest that follows is not avoidance. It is recovery. It is repair by sleep and by the steady presence that keeps the watch. A short prayer helps close this time. Speak it slowly in the mind. Ask simply for the courage to be still. Ask for the humility to know that not every question needs an answer tonight. Offer thanks for the small moments of mercy already given. Let the prayer be a soft lowering of the hands. After the prayer, leave a generous silence. Let the quiet hold the words. Breathe. Place a hand where it rests best. Notice any small easing in the shoulders. Notice the weight of the lids. If sleep comes, welcome it. If wakefulness remains, keep the listening posture for a few more breaths. Before I close the book, I invite one tiny habit for the coming nights. Choose a single phrase as a bedside anchor. It can be the verse paraphrase, or a short sentence like this, be still and rest. Keep it brief. Repeat it once as you lie down. Let the phrase become a small key that opens the quiet each night. Part 13 ends with that invitation. The lamp will dim a little more. The Bible will close lightly. The hush will widen. Renewal in stillness will keep working in the bones. When the next passage arrives, it will find a heart that has learned, a little at a time, to stop and to know. The lamp stays low. The room keeps its hush. The Bible rests warm beneath my hand. Tonight, I turn to a line that has steadied me often. Its words ask me not to be anxious. They tell me to present what weighs on the heart by way of prayer and petition, and to do so with thanksgiving. They hold a promise that a peace will come. a peace that keeps the heart and mind safe. I read the thought slowly, not as a lecture, but as an invitation. I say the verse aloud in my mind. I let the cadence be quiet. The room responds to that gentle pace. The idea of bringing requests with thanks feels at first odd. Gratitude and asking are not usually paired in the hurry of the day. We imagine gratitude as something to offer after good news. Here, thanksgiving becomes the shape of the asking itself. It changes the posture of the soul from grasping to opening. A small memory comes. It is a night of broken schedules and languages of hurry. The kettle is forgotten because a problem at work fills the head. A message arrives with troubling news. A child wakes and calls a name. The to-do list presses like a fist. In that hour, I try the verse. I name what is true worry. Fear. The list, and then I add a different line. 3 small things to say thank you for in the mess. The list is surprising. A warm pair of socks. The voice that called at midnight. A neighbor's light on across the lane. The act does not fix the problem. It shifts the body's center. The chest loosens enough for a long breath. Peace does not arrive like lightning. It comes as a steadying. Gratitude is a lens. It does not deny difficulty. It reframes it. In the reframing, the mind sees more than the sharpness of the present. It sees the thin threads of care that still run through the day. When I train the eyes toward those threads, the nervous system follows. Scattered thought narrows. The heart grows calmer. The promise that the verse makes begins to feel practical. The practice I offer is gentle and short. It fits into the pause before sleep, without demanding a long performance. Lie down or sit as is comfortable. Place one hand where the heartbeat is easiest to feel. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out slowly. On the next in-breath, invite to mind one ordinary thing that went well today. It can be tiny. A cup that did not break. A sentence said without haste. A small kindness received. On the out-breath, name it aloud in your mind. Let the simple naming be a small thanks. Repeat twice more. Choose one relational thing next. A short text that came back. A quiet presence of someone who does not need cheering. The memory of a friend's laugh. Say thanks for that too. Finally, pick one hope for tomorrow. Not a grand claim. A single small hope to try again. To be kinder. To rest. Place that hope into the prayer as an asking. Yes, but with a thankful heart for the chance to try. This threefold rhythm ordinary. Relational. Hopeful creates a soft triangle that steadies the inner life. It trains attention to move from the loudest anxieties to quieter facts of goodness. The moves are small enough to do with eyes half closed. They do not require eloquence. They require only the willingness to notice. When life is chaotic, gratitude acts like a tether. Chaos spreads like spilled ink. The grateful practice is a gentle paper towel. It does not remove the spill in one sweep. It collects what it can and slows the spread. The hands that tend the mess keep breathing. The heart stops racing. The mind finds a place to rest long enough for better choices to be made. There are practical ways to make the habit quiet and steady. Keep a small bowl or dish by the bedside. Each night, drop a pebble or a folded slip of paper in the dish. On the slip, write a single word that names the thing you are thankful for. It becomes a visible witness to the life of gratitude. On mornings when the chest is heavy, look at the bowl. Let the stones remind the hands and the eyes that small goods are real and accumulate. Another gentle method is a whispered thanksgiving before the asking, before speaking the hard request in the mind. Say one thank you first. Thank God for a provision already received. Thank for the breath itself. Then offer the concern. This small reversal does not diminish the need. It places the need inside a larger room. The voice of request softens. Anxiety loses a little of its edge. I sometimes practice gratitude in the form of a short letter. The letter is not sent. It is a way to set the mind in order. On a scrap, I write 3 lines: a small good, a small person, a small hope. I fold the paper and place it near the Bible. The act is physical and kind. It teaches the hands to make space for thanksgiving. The paper accumulates over days. After a week, reading those slips is a quiet sermon of mercy. Gratitude also has a way of translating fear. When worry tightens, the mind often imagines lacking. Gratitude changes the motion by showing what is already present. The turn is practical. If a fear speaks loudly, loss, loneliness, failure. Name one. Small counterexample of provision. Speak it slowly. Let the breath carry the truth in. This is not denial. It is a reweighing of evidence. The anxious thought still matters. It is not silenced. It is offered a companion. The verse promises a peace that guards. I have felt this peace like a soft door closing around a noisy room. Not a wall that denies the world, a door that opens into a warmer corridor. Gratitude invites that guarding. The more I practice, the easier the door opens. Night after night, the hand learns to place burdens down with a word of thanks. Kindness toward the self matters here. Sometimes the attempt at gratitude becomes harsh. If the heart believes it must be grateful for everything, that is not the aim. The practice is small and honest. If the day held pain, name it. Then name one tiny mercy in the same breath. Mercy can look like a soft chair in the corner of a room that is otherwise crowded. The chair does not take away the crowd. It offers a place to sit within it. A short prayer follows this reading. It is not ornate. It is a handing over with a thank you. I ask for the courage to see the small goods that are easy to miss. I thank for the presence that watches in the night. I bring the day's concerns before that presence, not to force answers, but to place them inside, a love that can hold them. I finish by offering a single sentence of surrender and thanks. The sentence is simple. Thank you for what is, and please hold what I cannot carry tonight. After the prayer, I keep a generous silence. Silence lets the words rest. In that hush, notice the breath. Notice the steadier beat beneath the hand. If the chest feels slightly looser, let that be enough for now. If the mind remains busy, return to the threefold, naming one ordinary, one relational, one hope. Repeat as many times as needed. The practice is patient. Sometimes gratitude opens a small doorway to mercy for others. A heart softened by thankfulness sees the neighbor's need more clearly. A gentle word arrives where a sharp one might have come. Small mercies multiply. The practice of giving thanks at night often changes the tenor of the next morning. The first act of the day can be a quiet recognition rather than a defensive checklist. The promise in Philippians does not erase life's storms. It teaches a posture that meets them more softly. The guarded heart is not a locked chest. It is a watchful room where rest can be true. I invite you to practice this with me tonight. Choose 3 small things. Name them slowly. Put one hand over the heart. Breathe. Offer a short prayer of thanks and asking. Let the silence hold the offering. Before I close the book, a tiny ritual. Take a single pebble from the dish and hold it in the palm. Feel its shape. Feel its weight. Say one word of thanks. Place it back. Let the action be a blessing in miniature. Then lay the hand where it rests best. The night will keep its watch. A final blessing follows. May the habit of giving thanks find its way into the crowded places. May the heart learn to name small mercies, even in loud hours. May the peace that the verse promises keep watch over your chest and mind. Sleep, when it comes, can be gentler for the practice. When morning arrives, look for one small good to add to the bowl. Keep the rhythm small and steady. We will meet again and read together. For now, breathe. Soften and rest in thanks. The lamp leans into the quiet. The Bible rests on my lap as it often does. Tonight, I turn to a story where thunder is loud and the counsel is soft. I do not read the thunder. I read the part about the hush that comes after. I read it because I want to learn how to listen. There is a night I keep coming back to. It is not dramatic on the surface. Nothing explodes. Nothing changes. In an instant. It begins with a small fatigue that sits behind the eyes. A long day leaves the hands tense. The calendar looks crowded. Decisions crowd the mind, like papers on a small table. The usual urge is to sort and tidy every sheet before sleep. I have learned that this is often the wrong move. So I sit instead. I make tea with slow hands. The kettle is patient. Steam climbs like a soft thread and fades. I open the Bible and read the story of the prophet who waits on a mountain. He expects a sign. He waits through wind and quake and fire. None of those bring the answer he needs. The answer comes as a whisper. I close the book softly. I do not rush the thought. I let the image sink in. I lean back and breathe. The breath is my first tool. It is steady. I place one hand where the heart keeps time. The palm feels warmth. The warmth is a small fact I can trust. The noise of the day becomes a backdrop rather than the whole room. I do not try to empty my head. I simply offer it a guest chair. Thoughts come. I watch them without arguing. I let them sit and then move on. A question I have been carrying stands in the middle of the mind. It is not a single question. It is a cluster choices about where to spend energy, where to say yes, where to say no. Each option looks important and heavy. The mind builds reasons for each. The chest tightens with a familiar pressure. I do not want thunder. I want a way to know the next small step. I listen for the whisper. Listening begins with kindness. I stop trying to prove an answer. I stop listing the reasons that will make my choice look clever. Instead, I ask a small, honest thing. Which next step will be a mercy? The question is not clever. It is not loud. It is a narrow opening. The whisper is not a voice that booms across the room. It is a nudge in the bones. It is a small image. Go to the neighbor whose light has been out. Or write a short note to the person who has been on my mind. Or rest tonight and answer tomorrow. The image is plain. It carries no theological weight. It is simply a direction that fits the moment. I learn to test the whisper by quieting further. I take 3 slow breaths. Inhale, hold, exhale. I place my attention again at the chest. The mind still offers objections. It always does. I do not argue. I let the objections pass like leaves on a slow river. I bring my attention back to the gentle direction. The more I return, the clearer the nudge becomes. The whisper often feels like mercy. It nudges towards small care rather than big performance. It does not demand proof of worth. It rearranges the next hour so kindness can happen. That night, the whisper leads me to a simple choice: to sit with the unanswered question, but to postpone decision until morning. I learn that waiting can itself be obedience. I step out for a moment of air. The porch is cool. A single star shows where the sky keeps its breath. I imagine the prophet listening for a sound under the roar. The world can be loud. Guidance does not always come through the loudest channel. The hush after the storm carries a clear tone if ears are willing. Active listening needs practice. I have learned some small habits that help me hear the thin things. First, a willingness to stop. Not to plan the whole night away, simply to stop long enough for the hush to arrive. Second, a brief naming of the weight. I say one sentence in my mind about what is heavy. The act of naming is not a confession. It is a placement. Third, a patient pause. I let the pause be long enough for a whisper to find space. The whisper sometimes comes as a picture. Other times it arrives as a bodily shift, a loosening at the jaw, a small relief behind the sternum. The body remembers what words cannot always explain. When the chest lightens, I consider that a sign worth following. I do not require fireworks. I accept the small clearness. That night, I go back inside and write one line in a small notebook. Not an essay. One line, wait till morning. Then another line, ask for rest. The notebook is a witness. The act of writing makes the whisper less easily dismissed. It puts the small instruction into a place the hands will touch again. Guidance by whisper often asks for courage to be quiet. The world rewards volume. Small counsel hides under that reward. To hear it, I set a rule: no major decision after 9. After that hour, I gather the papers and let the questions sleep where they will. The day can be trusted to the morning. That discipline shifts many nights from fret to a slow peace. I have learned that the whisper seldom contradicts clear reason. It rarely contradicts careful counsel. It complements them, where reason clears the path. The whisper points to the tone of the step. Reason says which road might lead faster. The whisper hints which step will be kindest for the feet. Once, when the whisper directed me toward a visit I had not planned, the visit changed a day for a neighbor more than I could have predicted. The act was small. The change was large. I do not tell the story for spectacle. I tell it to show how quiet guidance shapes ordinary life. A whisper can rearrange a single hour into a mercy. That hour often ripples. Listening well also means holding doubt gently. Sometimes the whisper feels like an unsteady thought. I do not demand certainty. I ask for a felt peace about a tiny choice. When a small peace appears, I act on the step it recommends. If the peace is absent, I wait again. The practice trains the heart to prefer soft certainties over loud uncertainty. There are nights the whisper is a rebuke. Not hush, just true. It suggests a relinquishing of a worry or a tightening. In such moments, the right work is to release. I do not pretend to understand the whole story. I do the small work of letting go. Release is a labor of trust. It is also a relief for the body. As the listener before you, I try to teach these habits gently. I read a story of a prophet who learns to listen under fear. I offer the room a pause to practice the same. We take slow breaths. We name one thing that presses. We wait. We look for a small clarity. We write one line. We let sleep come when it will. The tone of the whisper is merciful. It does not shame the one who cannot hear it yet. Patience is part of the lesson. We come to the hush again and again. Each time we practice, the ear becomes more attuned. The body learns to notice the tiny signals that used to go unnoticed. Mercy trains the senses to be soft and steady. I do not promise thunder in response to prayer. I do not promise instant maps. I promise a presence that speaks in small ways, if we are willing to listen. The presence prefers gentle instruction, because many hearts break under blare. A whisper moves into small places and is faithful there. Tonight I place a hand where the heart keeps time. I breathe with care. I choose one small step the whisper has suggested for this hour rest. I do not act like sleep must be a conclusion. I accept rest as an obedient pause. The decision lightens the chest. The jaw relaxes. The lamp feels warmer. If you want to practice listening, try this short exercise with me now. Lie down or sit by the bedside. Place a hand where the pulse is steady. Breathe in for 4. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 6. Name one burden in a single short phrase. Then wait in the hush for a small image or a bodily sign. Do not demand a thunderclap. Accept the first small clarity you feel. Write it down. Act on it if it is simple. Rest if it asks you to rest. The Bible is the book I read before bed. It teaches me the shape of listening. It teaches me that God often speaks in thin air. It teaches me to prepare ears for small mercy. I keep the book closed but near. The practice lasts longer than the hour. It follows into the morning in tiny choices. I close tonight with a quiet blessing. May a gentle whisper find you when the day grows loud. May the hush after the storm teach your ears. May one small clarity give you the courage to sleep. May mercy guide the next step you take. Rest now. Let the whisper be your lodestar for this night. The lamp stays low. The room keeps its hush. The Bible rests where hands can find it. Tonight I turn to a page that holds a very simple promise. It is a sentence about love that will not let go. I read the thought slowly, letting the sound fall like a soft hand on the shoulder. I say the verse not to argue. I say it to offer a sure place to rest. The words say that nothing can sever the connection of love that holds us. Not trouble, not tragedy, not doubt, not the long night. The sentence sits like a steady rope thrown across stormy water. It is not a plan to explain everything. It is a comfort that meets the bones. A memory rises as the words settle. It is a night when the city noise fades to a far hum. A hospital hallway smells of antiseptic and late coffee. Waiting rooms are full of sleeping chairs. A lamp on the table glows small and tired. The hours before dawn press long and grey. Fear has a rhythm of its own there. It tightens the throat and makes hands small and clenched. In that place, the thought of a love that does not let go comes like a quiet visit. It is not loud. It is not urgent. It is simply present. The presence feels like a hand placed without fanfare at the back of the neck. That hand steadies. It does not remove the facts of the night. It makes them less sharp. I breathe with this image. One hand rests gently over the heart. The palm feels the familiar beat. The heartbeat is a small proof. There is motion here. There is life. The chest answers to the touch. The breath lengthens a fraction. The knot at the throat loosens a notch. These small shifts matter in the dark. The Bible places love in the realm of the impossible. It names things that usually tear life apart and says, love is stronger. The sentence lists storms that frighten the mind. It names fears with a calm voice, pressures, lost places, violent things, the definite end. Then it says, the love keeps. The two lines together do not erase the danger. They create a steadier frame within which danger may be lived. Sometimes the love arrives as memory. A quiet hand at a bedside. A small voice that does not claim to fix the future but promises to wait. I remember someone sitting through the night, keeping time with the breathing. There is a particular comfort in shared presence. The one who waits becomes proof that someone uneasily stays with the fear rather than fleeing from it. Other times the love appears as a call to remember small mercies. A cup of tea placed without a speech. A message that says only that someone is thinking of you. A blanket spread across knees. These acts sound trivial in a louder hour. They create the shape of care in ordinary things. The Bible sentence says not that grand miracles do all the work. It says love's ordinary fidelity is enough to hold. I read the verse a second time, in a slow voice that asks no defense. The cadence is deliberate. Words hang. The silence after each phrase is part of the meaning. The pause gives space for the heart to notice how the sentence lands. Sometimes the most powerful gift is the permission to rest in the claim without contest. There is a small practice that helps this truth become felt rather than merely known. Sit or lie where it feels safe. Place one hand lightly on the chest. Take a breath in long and easy. Hold the breath for a soft moment. Let the exhale be longer, like a letting down. On the out-breath, name the word love, not loudly, but plainly. Let the word settle. Repeat 3 times. The exercise is not an attempt to force feeling. It is a way to teach the nervous system to register a gentleness that is true. Love that does not let go is not always dramatic. It does not always come with trumpets. Often it is a low, steady warmth that keeps returning. Think of a lamp on a porch. It burns all through the evening. Its light does not shout. It simply makes the steps visible. That steady light is enough to find a door. Love that does not let go is like that lamp present. Faithful. Small but reliable. Daud mig still visit. That is human. The mind will test promises and press them with sharp questions. When doubt comes, do not push it away with harshness. Name it gently. Say out loud, or in the mind, a brief phrase. I am held. The phrase is small. It asks no proof. It gives the body a chance to soften around the thought. The work is patient. Repetition matters more than eloquence. There are nights when the love feels absent. The hours are long and the heart is numb. The sentence I read does not pretend away that numbness. It instead offers a posture. Remain present. Keep the hands where the chest keeps time. Keep the lamp dim but steady. Keep one small habit breath. A line of gratitude. A short prayer. The habits create a path back toward feeling. I take another moment to imagine the reach of this love. It stretches farther than fear imagines. It threads through small decisions and large tragedies alike. Love reaches into the corners where shame lives. It nudges a closed hand to open. It changes how the past can be carried. It does not erase consequence. It alters how consequence sits inside the heart. The Bible sentence insists that the love is not dependent on success or on neat living. It does not say the heart is exempt from pain. It says the love is present in pain. It names a companionship that does not promise light without darkness. The language is not a contract. It is a covenant of staying. I share a quiet ritual I use on such nights. Before closing the book, I pick one small thing that feels like a weight. I hold it in my mind, no long analysis. I then imagine handing it into a warm, open palm. The image is brief. I do not demand that it disappears. I hand it over as if passing a small stone to be kept for a while. The hand receiving is not absent. It keeps the stone and does not let it fall. The act calms the fingers. A short, simple prayer follows the reading. I do not use ornate phrases. I thank for the love that stays. I ask for courage to rest in it. I ask for a gentleness to receive mercy even when the mind protests. The prayer is soft. It is a lowering of the hands and a leaning toward the bedside lamp. After the prayer, I keep long silence. Silence is a room where the sentence can settle. Let the stillness be wide enough for small shift. Breathe with it. Notice if the jaw relaxes a whisper. Notice if the breath lengthens a fraction. These small signs are the proof beloved by quiet nights. If tears come, let them flow. Tears often clear the throat between the head and the heart. They are part of the journey toward feeling that love has warmth rather than claim. If a small smile slips free, welcome it. Both outcomes are tender and true. There is an outward practice, too, that grows from believing in a love that does not let go. Offer a small act of faithfulness to someone else tomorrow. A text that says you remember them. A loaf of bread left for a neighbor. A listening ear given without immediate advice. These acts do not fix every difficulty. They teach hands to trust the grace that first held them. I close the Bible lightly. The lamp dims a hair. The voice grows lower. A final blessing sits in the room like a small blanket. May the sure love find your tired places tonight. May it steady the spine and quiet the insistence of fear. May rest come not as escape, but as the body's true response to being held. Sleep if it comes. If wakefulness remains, lie softly in the knowledge that nothing can separate you from the love that keeps watch. The night keeps its own slow, faithful rhythm. Let it carry you toward morning. The lamp is low. The room keeps its hush. I turn the Bible open and place my hand lightly on the page. Tonight I read Psalm 23 slowly, not as a formula, but as a map of seasons. I speak the lines in a quiet voice. The sound unfolds like a small stream. Each sentence is gentle. Each pause is deliberate. The psalm begins in spring. Green pastures appear in the mind. Soft shoots push through cool earth. A lamb lifts its head. New things start without great fanfare. I picture a field that breathes after frost. The shepherd walks close. The step is measured. The presence is patient. New growth is allowed to be small at first. Hope comes like first grass. Then summer warmth arrives in the sound. Still waters reflect the sky. A body rests at the edge of a stream. Hands unclench. Eyes relax. The sun warms what was chilled. There is a simple abundance. The shepherd's voice is low. The path is level for a while. There is time to drink and to mend. Joy appears not as brightness alone, but as a steadier light that keeps the heart from trembling. Autumn comes next in the telling. The leaves change their color in the image. Paths become textured with fallen things. Choices grow clearer in the hush of harvest. There is work to do. There is also counting and clearing. The shepherd walks the same route, noticing what must be gathered and what must be left to the soil. Mercy appears as a hand that helps gather what can be saved and receives the rest into patient soil. Winter follows, and the voice softens. The valley grows long and shadowed. Cold weather presses in. Darkness lessens the steps. Fear can be near enough to touch. The shepherd does not leave. A staff steadies, and a rod corrects the footing when the path slips. Warmth comes in different ways now. A coat, a shared breath, a light kept burning in a small window. The shepherd's presence in winter is not showy. It is faithful, it is steady. It holds through the nights when the body aches and the mind keeps counting losses. The seasons are not neat lines. They overlap and bleed into one another. Spring sometimes feels like a secret under winter's snow. Summer can hide beneath autumn's leaves. Yet the route has one companion through all months. The same hand guides. The same voice calls. The same lamp waits at the path's turn. I do not read the psalm to promise a life without hardship. I do not read it to erase the facts of loss. I read it to name a constant companion. The shepherd's presence meets both bread and drought. It walks the joyful field and the narrow valley. It brings a tune to the worst night watch and a light to the small morning kitchen. There is a moment in the psalm where a table is prepared. It happens in the mind of the listener as surely as in the text. A table stands where danger waits. Food is placed where enemies might watch. The image settles into the chest like an offering of courage. Sitting at that table does not erase caution. It changes the posture toward those who threaten. The table makes hospitality possible even when fear lingers. The gesture of setting a meal in the open shows a trust that rests below the need to fight at every step. Anointing comes next in the telling. Oil poured on the head feels like a touch that names belonging. The touch says you are known and you are kept. The cup overflows with more than necessary. Overflow is not always crowd-pleasing. Sometimes it is quiet. It is a small abundance tucked into ordinary hands. The overflowing cup becomes a symbol of care that continues when supply seems thin. Goodness and mercy follow like two companions on the path. They do not run after like distant promises. They walk at the shoulder. They tuck into the rhythm of daily steps. Goodness shows up as a warm coat left on a chair. A neighbor's knock at the right hour. A clear day after a stretch of fog. Mercy arrives as a second breath when the first one feels too short. Both companions do not cancel sorrow. They simply travel alongside it. The psalm ends with dwelling. The house of the Lord becomes a home. The word dwell relaxes the shoulders. Permanence is not a fortress, but a room with a familiar chair and a corner lamp. The image is not of escaping life. It is of living inside the safety of a presence that does not quit. To dwell is to be allowed to stay. To stay is to be known. Through every season that map matters, spring's tender shoots remind patience to those who have lost hope. Summer's still waters teach the weary to drink deep. Autumn's harvest calls for honest counting and praise. Winter's valley shows what faithful hands look like in the dark. The shepherd's presence threads these seasons together and forms a single journey toward peace. I tell a small memory now. Once during a long winter, the roads closed and the house felt too wide. Nights extended like pale blankets. Sleep came thin. The chest tightened around lists of things that might go wrong. Reading Psalm 23 aloud then was like letting a small ember glow. The ember did not banish the cold. It made a place to warm the palms. Breathing with the imagery slowed the mind enough to notice a different kind of company. That company kept watch, even when answers did not arrive. Another night in spring presents a different scene. A new beginning had frightened me. The heart wanted a guarantee. The psalm's green pastures in the mind felt absurdly perfect, yet the image taught a small lesson. New growth needs space. The shepherd's gentle leading allowed only the next step. The insistence on a timeline softened. Peace returned as a permission to move slowly. There is also a season where the road feels empty because of grief. In that season, mercy is not a bright thing. It is a quiet presence sitting beside the ache. The psalm's cup that overflows seems almost rude at first. Later, It proves itself as an odd comfort. The overflow might look like a memory that brings a smile in a sudden moment, or a letter from a friend that says simply, "I remember." Those small things soften the edges of the valley. Practices grow out of these images. At night, I place a hand on the chest and breathe in the picture of green pastures. A slow exhale follows. I picture still waters and sit with their reflection. If the valley seems close, I imagine the staff steadying my steps. The practices do not change the facts. They change what those facts feel like in the body. The nervous system learns new rhythms. The heart finds new posture. The shepherd's guiding is not passive. Sometimes there is a correction. Sometimes a tug that turns a step away from danger. That push is not punitive. It is practical. It is a care taking the form of direction. Correction is an act of closeness. The shepherd knows when a sheep must avoid a cliff. The concern shows itself in small nudges just as much as in large interventions. Presence also looks like preparation. A valley may be part of the road. The shepherd prepares the way through it. Bread is put in the hands. A lamp is set on the path. A friend is seated at the side of the road. Preparation is simple and kind. It is the small arranging that keeps heart and body moving. The Psalm's steady images invite a kind of listening. Sit in the hush. Let the lines drift through the chest like slow water. If a particular season presses tonight, name that season in a soft voice. Let the image of the appropriate line green pasture. Still water. Steady staff, rest against the burden. Breathe with it. Allow the picture to be a small tool. I close the psalm with care. The book clicks softly. I leave a handful of silence. Silence becomes a room where the night can take the words deeper. The lamp leans into the dark a fraction. The breath slows again. Before the final blessing, a short practice remains. Place a hand where the heart keeps time. Picture one season you live in now. Name it with a single word. Breathe. Picture the shepherd at your side in that season. Let the presence be close enough to feel. Rest in that nearness for 3 slow breaths. When the breath settles, carry the image to sleep. Let it be a small lantern for the night. Morning brings its own light and its own map. For now the road rests. The shepherd watches, and peace waits a little closer than it did before. Now we move gently toward the last part. The blessing is near. The lamp dims a fraction more. The hush widens for the closing words to come. The lamp leans into the final hush. Pages close softly. My hand rests on the cover. The sound of the room is small and patient. Breathing holds a steady rhythm. The hour has been slow, on purpose. We began together with small motions. A lamp, a blanket, a book opened with calm. Simple sentences moved across the air. The pace stayed gentle. The aim was not to fix everything. The aim was to make space for rest. This long set has been a slow path. Each stop offered a small gift. There were times for naming hurt. There were times for handing it over. There were practices to return to when the mind grew loud. Many of those practices were tiny. They fit a tired hand. They fit a heavy heart. Forgiveness came first, as an act of admission. The story of letting go of the stone at the river stayed with us. A single small step of naming eased the grip. The paperback ritual. The folded slip under a pebble. The whispered phrase each made room. The work of forgiving oneself did not erase the past. It rearranged what the past could do to the present. That rearrangement feels like a soft shelf where a weight can sit without crushing the rest of the room. Grace followed as a quiet presence. It did not shout or demand proof. It arrived as a lamp at a doorway and a steady hand at the back. The practice of saying a single short line in acceptance. A receiving taught the body to allow mercy. The nervous system learned to relax one level at a time. Small loosening in the jaw. A longer exhale. A shoulder that drops by a fraction. These were not dramatic miracles. They were faithful repairs. Peace appeared in small measures, not as a one-time cure, rather as a pattern. Breathing became a tool. The 4 and 6 rhythm learned in the hush helped calm the heart. Images of still water and green fields softened the sharp edges of problem and pain. The shepherd's presence. The lamp on the porch. The table set in the valley. Each image shaped the night so the body could accept rest. We practiced together. Short verses read slowly. A pause after each line. Hands placed on the chest to feel a steady beat. A folded scrap placed on the bedside. A pebble collected and set as a witness. These small, physical acts taught the hands and the bones a new story. Habit is patient. Habit changes the shape of the night more than a single big speech ever could. Compassion also grew as a practice. A neighbor's basket. A quiet listening. A simple cup set down without words. These showed how tenderness lives in ordinary motion. The older son's honest ache in the parable reminded the heart that fidelity and mercy must share the same house. Holding both truths together is hard work. It is also the most honest kindness. Hope learned to live in small things. A folded note. A pebble to mark a hope. A tiny lamp left burning at a window. Each kept the future tender without forcing a bright ending. Hope lacked patience. It liked the kind of slow root that wears winter into spring. It asked for one small, doable step rather than a map that promised no storms. Trust settled as a deliberate posture. When choices felt heavy, the 3 small moves helped name the fact plainly. Pick one careful action, then breathe and allow the rest to be guided. The practice did not remove responsibility. It changed how responsibility was carried. It taught that leaning on a steadier presence makes the steps easier to take. Listening became a tiny art. The whisper that comes after wind and quake taught the ears to be soft. Guidance often arrives in thin tones, in nudges more than in commands. The practice of waiting, of staying quiet, just long enough for a small clarity to appear, became a discipline of mercy. The hush that follows the storm holds a precise kind of counsel. Throughout this set, the work was not to answer every question. None of the readings promised an instant map. The pages offered companionship. The words were a lamp and a staff. The soul needed that steady company more than another argument. So the voice stayed low. The sentences remained short. The images stayed simple. The truth of presence was the center. Now, at the close, gather the threads into a single garment. Forgiveness is the first seam. It loosens the wound just enough for good work to begin. Grace is the soft lining sewn behind the tear. It holds what was fragile and keeps it from abrasion. Peace is the gentle stitch that ties the pieces together. The three together make a usable thing, a cover for the night that keeps the chill at bay. There is a last set of small steps to take before sleep. Pick one short phrase as an anchor. Keep it no longer than a breath. Place one hand over the heart and feel the steady beat. Breathe in slowly. Hold the quiet count. Breathe out longer. Let the out-breath carry the short phrase gently across the chest. Repeat until the shoulders loosen by a whisper. When the eyes begin to blur, do not rush the fall of sleep. Let it come in its own time. If waking comes later, return to the same simple acts. Name one small hope. Read one short line from the book. Place a hand where the pulse is easiest to feel. The repetition matters more than length. Small, faithful returns make the night gentler. Before the final silence, offer a last piece of company, a brief, spoken prayer from these tired hands. It is nothing ornate. It is a lowering of demand and a reaching for refuge. It is a few humble lines spoken with the warmth that comes from a long evening together. Dear God, thank you for the small mercies of this day. Thank you for breaths that slow and for hands that learn new rhythms. Thank you for the lamp that waits and for the steady presence that holds. Meet the places that still ache. Give courage to name what needs naming. Grant the grace to receive what we cannot earn. Wrap the heart in quiet kindness. Bless the sleepers in this room. Bring rest that rebuilds. Soothe the nerves that learn to brace all day. Place a covering over the places that still sting. Let forgiveness be not a demand, but a gift received. Let peace keep watch where worry used to sit. Watch over the waking hours that come next. Guide small steps with a gentle hand. Keep mercy near. Teach the body to trust the slow work of healing. Let hope be patient and steady. May morning find eyes that can see a small good and hands ready to do one kind thing. Good night. Then, may the hush of this hour follow like a friend. May sleep come soft and deep. May the watchful eye that never sleeps bend close and keep vigil. Rest now in that presence. Let the book be closed lightly. The lamp dims. The breath goes on. I will be here again when the next quiet hour returns. For now, sleep well. Good night.